Yo, 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 yo.
The festivities are about to begin. Boom!
Boom. Oh, yeah. We are live. Look at that. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? We are here on the YouTube universe. Happy, happy, happy. Thank you very much. I got on cue some rocket launch thing that is going on. I have no idea what this mission is about, but I see a few people posting the links. So I just popped it up and I'm going to share that in the background. Yeah, we got that. We got that in the works. You see, we got that right here. Pending. Oh, and I'm right here. Oh, hi. Oh, hi, Mark. I'm right here in the little corner. Uh, thank you very much, Frog. Mob it. Hey, okay. Mob it. Mob it. All right, frogs are okay. Squeaky Earth. Squeaky Earth, I hear you. You're fine. Earth, mini Earth. Everything is looking good. Warning the stupid people beyond this point. Thank you all for being here. Sean Smith, what's up? Mr. Malord, Martin, Truth Nerds. Look at all these flip flops. Oh, yeah. Wilton 969, Charlie Welsh, Tiny Captain, Citizen 9, Mr. Victory's Radio, RT96, more flip flops. Kevin Conrad, Real Cygnus, what's up? Hey, what is this going on? What is going on here? This looks like a SpaceX thing. Looks like a SpaceX thing. Now, I don't know exactly what it is. I am a little bit confused because I am SpaceX and actual space illiterate. So I'm not sure exactly what I am looking at. What I know is that we get a T minus 14 here. We are in the Discord server, the Daily Boom. Please click and join us and help us figuring this out. Please support the channel. If you can hit me up on PayPal, anything you can, it will help a lot. Or super chat. Please support however you want. Mr. Victory say civilians launching to the ISS. Civilians launching to the ISS. Wow. That's exciting. Civilians say. What's the info on this? Historic. This will be the 5th flight for this Falcon 9. Order, Inspiration 4, Stanley mission, following the separation, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't give specifics on the people on this spacecraft on this description box. This is AX-1 mission launch. It is live right now, and it is a T minus 14, T minus 12 and 40. I don't know, man. How do you figure out this is just normal people, just civilians? What was the term he used? Civilians. Let me go with that. Space. Civilians. All right. We have Inspiration 4, right? Is this it? Is this Inspiration 4? Or not? Is this them, or am I in an older? Oh, this is an older one, right? Oh, well, shit. Give me a link, guys. A link for these people. Okay, let's see. Let's see what we got. Meet the crew of SpaceX all civilians spacewalkers, which includes a billionaire and an Air Force veteran. and it will be a date could lift off before the end of 2022. Is this it? You guys gotta tell me this is the people. Let me see if anybody gave me a link. I got the link. I got the this launch thing. I got the this live thing going on over here. T minus 10 minutes and 35 seconds. But I don't see anybody. I don't know who the people are. If I can get access to a link where you tell me who the crew is, and just randomly googling shit around. What's up, man?
Say,
What's up? They say this is a civilian crew inside this capsule. Some people say on the YouTube.
I just heard about this morning, about maybe half an hour ago.
Yeah. But I don't know who this crew is. I don't know how to find information about this. I mean, I don't see it because if I just put it right here, ATAX1 mission launch, you check on the info and it gives you all kinds of detail, but it just doesn't give you, I don't know, nothing about this. The crew will participate in educational outreach and conduct innovative research experiments while on the orbiting laboratory. But how do I find the AX1 crew? I guess I gotta Google that. Who is the AX1 crew? About this mission, Wikipedia. Wikipedia legit enough? I don't want to miss the 8 minutes. Okay, I see them inside here. Look at them. Shout out to everybody on YouTube land. We also have lots of frags. I see Kevin Conrad, Victory, Charlie Wells, Citizen 9, Mamba Cakes, Don Giovanni, Sean Smith. It's in the Daily Boom. Who said Daily Boom? Okay. Mail online. No, I'm gonna go to Wikipedia, but I got them right here right now, so I don't wanna skip because we might get we might get the green screen breakdown of falls in behind them, and we see the fourth wall or something. You know, I don't want to miss that. We'll analyze. We'll see who they are after the show, after the launch. The meanwhile, Magic Man, what have you heard about this? Is anybody looking at this? Like a bunch of people is, right? What is important about this from your perspective?
Well, it's interesting to see civilians go up, but as far as this particular crew, I mean, I just heard about it 30 minutes ago, and I haven't done any research on it. So,
Now, I've been trying to think about this term civilians. When they say civilians, what is considered civilians? Aren't astronauts civilians? Whoever you call
yeah.
astronauts. I mean,
Well, I found something in the Daily Mail which says NASA will launch 3 amateur astronauts to the International Space Station. They are the I'll forget it. I read it wrong before. I thought I was getting more details on it. I got pictures.
yeah, right. Yeah, but like for real, right? I mean, astronauts are civilians. I mean, they call them here amateur civilians or whatever, you know. It's rookies, but everybody's a civilian or not. Who is not who will not be a civilian? A prisoner, you know, somebody in jail is still a civilian.
I mean, you might say like, it could be a government worker, would not be a civilian, or it could be a civilian. Depends. If they're a NASA employee, you might not call them civilians. I don't know.
So yeah, non-NASA employee probably counts that would be considered a civilian, and working for the actual NASA on the NASA payroll. That would be a civilian, I guess, for them.
Might could be, but of course, technically they're civilians also because they're not governed by the government with more than just employee rules.
Exactly. So
Yeah. Not like
because
a military person who's sworn to secrecy and all that shit.
right. And that's been my argument. Like, this is not just regular. I mean, I don't know, because that's something that we needed to define first. Throw a line. Who will be considered a civilian, who will not. I say everybody's a civilian, including the astronauts in the ISS. So this is not just normal people like you or me. These are rich millionaire or somebody with some kind of background in either math or science or armed forces or something that just not the dude from the little kiosk in the corner who sell, I don't know, whatever, the dude from the mini market is not gonna go like, tomorrow I'm gonna go in one of these rocket things.
Okay, we got some names. Canadian investor Mark Pathy, U.S. entrepreneur Larry Connor, ex-Israeli Air Force pilot, and that's only three. Where's my fourth one?
Yes, so people they have some credentials, They are civilians with credentials, with they have had a background in specific in things related, actually kind of related ish to space or
But
science.
entrepreneur and a Canadian investor, those really are not in any way, shape, or
Those
form.
are just rich people, yeah. Just rotting in money, those two. So those are the civilians that are millionaires. They wipe their asses with $100 bills. Those are those ones, civilians. That's fair, Those are nice, normal people like you or me, multi-million dollar people, rich people.
Yeah, well, it is. It's still
It's a
kind of
tricky one, right?
expensive.
I mean,
Having me go up there just probably
right.
isn't going to happen.
Right. If you think about it, it's a tricky one because who is a normal civilian? I mean, if somebody doesn't work for the government, something probably he's a millionaire, billionaire or something. That's why they're going. So yeah, they are civilians, but it's not like they put the term civilians as for not astronaut. I don't know. It's a little fine line. Shout out to Sean Smith, $5 super chat. By civilian, you mean no NASA actors. Hit the thumbs up, people! We getting cowbell right here.
I'll tell you one thing: it'd be hard to bribe these people to make them liars and stuff because they're already fabulously wealthy. And what the hell kind of bribe could you give to a billionaire?
That's where you're wrong, because a billionaire will never refuse a bit of more money. That's how they made it to begin with.
And I think the one person that I know is more of a civilian, if you want to contact, is William Shatner, and he's still an actor who made shitload of money and still making money with his series and Star Trek and all the shit, still as old as he is, It's still, somebody with power, if you might say. So they're not just civilians. I mean, what every time I saw certain civilian, I'm thinking a poor person, a person poor. So yeah, we're not going to find somebody poor, just middle class and poor going up to space.
Although the last flight they had I thought was just like a cancer survivor. I didn't think she had anything really going for her. Yeah, she was just somebody paid her ticket and she went.
Well, yeah, I think we looked at her a little bit, but we might go a little deeper and see what her background really is, besides a cancer survivor. And we will find that she's got some kind of a link with all that shit. She's not somebody super separated from these space agencies or poor, she's not a poor person.
It's not about citizen or it's about private company that sent its people to space. The other ones were not, were sent by NASA, which made them shields. These people are sent by a private company.
I'll say if I won the lottery tomorrow, I could afford to go and still be a civilian. But I'll move from a poor normal civilian to a rich civilian if I win the lottery and I'm able to pay that with my own money. I'll be rich. I'll be a civilian. Yes, we are all civilians, even the astronauts that work in NASA. I will go to be a rich civilian, you know?
Yes, but NASA astronauts are government employees.
But they're still civilians, right?
Everyone is a civilian.
Exactly.
Even military people are civilians. No, the military.
Now there's
Yeah.
a delineation between civilian and military. Although they have some things in common, but while you're in the military, you're not considered a civilian.
Exactly. And there are one or two in this one specific mission, right? They have some military credentials.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna,
very
I'm gonna full screen this. T minus
So-
30 seconds.
So for this discussion, civilian is non-government employee.
I don't know. I guess.
It really depends on what the context is and who's talking at that moment.
Exactly. We need to define who you consider civilian. T minus 12 seconds. 11. 9. I got it on full screen on my little laptop right here. For everybody on YouTube, you got it in full screen within the square that I allow you to see. So you got a 75% of the screen seeing it. And I guess, they didn't cancel it. It took off, man. If you're watching my screen, click on my name, watch the screen share.
They should have cameras on the faces of the astronauts so you can see that oh shit face. Holy crap!
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
And they should have a little camera on their helmet also, so that when they take off, even if you see a panel in the top of their head, or if they tilt their head down to see through the little window or something, should be able to see what they should be able to have something like that rolling.
Plus 38 seconds into this historic mission, flying crew on board Dragon and Falcon 9.
Power range telemetry nominal.
It's 45 seconds up, so he's going.
Stage 1 throttle down.
They'd have that roller coaster
Throttling
face.
down in the preparation for max dynamic
Yeah.
pressure.
It looks good. This looks like a cool shot right here. I like this shot.
Look how small that flame is at the bottom.
Yeah, fucking perspective, man. The hell. Perspective messing with us and shit.
XQ. Stage 1 throttle up.
Isn't this nice CGI?
Berlin 1D
Shout out to
engines coming
Dora.
back up to power.
Brad Wagner with the
Copy 1 Bravo.
The crew calling out 1 Bravo should a escape
That looks like a flat
situation
surface.
arise. It tells the Dragon flight computer what
Right?
profile to fly using the
It does.
engines.
The actual surface
Everything
right, the
is
actual
looking
this
good.
right here.
On
Oh,
Falcon
there you
9.
go.
Oh, why the flame seems to be getting wider?
Nominal call-outs from all
Fucking
Oh,
A,
they
yeah.
cut the
Get a
video.
great view from the ground camera and the onboard cameras.
Invac chill underway.
Beginning to
The air's
fill
getting
in
mighty
the second
thin.
stage turbo pump in preparation
Yeah.
for its ignition coming up in just over half a minute from now. Coming up on about 3.5 G's acceleration for the crew.
The fire going off.
Begin
Just
throttling
smoke
down
now.
Merlin engines to hold
I think that's
Oh, it's
because
a
the
little
rich
fire.
fuel that they burn is no longer burning behind the rocket. Because there's no oxygen for it to burn.
Next event coming up.
This is the guess.
Get main engine cut off of
Stage
the
1
nine
throttle down.
engines. Get stage
As
separation
if
and
looks
ignition
as
of the
if
second
it
stage.
looks as it's going down. Like right now, from my perspective, I look and it's not going up or sideways. It's going angled down in like a 45-degree angle. It's still gaining altitude. 79, 80, 81, 82 kilometers altitude.
Stage separation.
There you go. There you got one of the things. You see where the phone rodents. We need rodents.
Successful stage separation ignition of the second stage engine on the left. The titanium grid fins beginning to slowly deploy. Great views from the first stage camera.
There you go.
First
This
stage now
see-through
begins a slow flip
milk
maneuver. You
crate
can see
plastic
the
flaps
white,
to stop
nitrogen gas
this
plumes.
thousands
As we
plus
reorient
miles
for
per hour
entry back through the
speed
Earth's atmosphere a
rocket
little bit later
land back
in
down.
plus count.
Plastic
Second
milk
stage, we
crate
see the
side
engine nozzle glowing red.
wall flaps.
Everything continuing to look good on the second stage.
Oh man, I like those milk crate
We'll be hearing
flaps.
call-outs coming up to the crew here shortly on how the trajectory is looking.
can't wait for the damn rodents to appear, man. Is anybody else here? I'm not looking at that. Let me see.
Dragon, SpaceX.
Yeah, I see Chike and Maya are still here.
What we like to
Uh-oh.
hear.
Acquisition of signal, Bermuda.
AOS Bermuda, acquisition of signal. Bermuda tracking station now getting telemetry.
Whatever you guys
from the
want to say,
second
whenever you
stage
want to
of the
say it,
Falcon
please
with
interrupt me and
Dragon
tell, hey, there's a big bird,
2.4 minutes, 10
bird.
seconds,
This
everything
time we didn't have a
continues to
rat.
be
We had,
normal.
oh,
First stage
change
coasting
view.
to apogee, and then it will come back
It's
down
change view.
for landing on the drone
Are you
ship.
looking? Is this a
Second
different
stage
one
shortly
than that
for its
one?
lengthy burn
Are
to get the
there
crew
two of
into
these? There you
orbit.
go. Here's one with
So
this
Kate, 4.5 minutes in, everything
bird.
continues to look
Oh,
good.
big rat, big rodent. Uh-oh.
What a
We're seeing legs
absolutely
now.
picture perfect liftoff. We've got a live view of the crew inside.
See them people
Dragon
chilling over there.
Endeavour.
They ain't even shaking. It's
Looks
smooth.
like everyone is still pretty comfy. As John had said earlier, we got
Dragon,
to a
SpaceX. Trajectory nominal.
I'm gonna lower my chat box. I want to see this in full screen on my end. I'll get with the chat box in a minute. Guys, enjoying the chat. Talk on each other. Let me know if you see this. We got a bird and we got a rodent, big rodent in here. I don't know what they are.
Side of your screen, we can see the
This is
first
literally
stage
like a
as it is
small
making its
pigeon.
way
Uh-oh.
Back down to Earth.
And then
Starting
a
landing on
medium-sized
our drone ship, a
white
short-haul
squirrel in the
Gravitas, which is
top
parked a couple hundred
area.
miles off the coast
But
of
it's gone
Florida,
right now.
out in the
There you
Atlantic
go.
Ocean.
It looks like a big white
Second
squirrel.
stage on the right-hand
This was
side.
like a small pigeon
Everything
right here.
continues to be nominal there. As the MVAC engine is powering the second stage and Dragon Endeavour to its targeted drop-off
Speed
orbit.
11,000 plus miles per hour on this one. On whatever this one is saying it is. And this one is speed 5,000 miles per hour.
As
This
we
one is for
view
this right
views of
here,
both
right?
the first and second
Dragon,
stages.
SpaceX.
154,000 kilometers. 150 kilometers and going down this one. And this one, 199
So coming up in
kilometers
about
and
a minute
going
and a half,
up
the
or
first stage
staying at
will
the
execute
altitude.
the
Look at
first
that.
of two
This one is
burns
199, staying at the
required for
altitude.
today's landing attempt. At
But
about T plus
speeding up.
7 minutes and 30 seconds,
Almost
we'll see
13,000
the
miles
entry
per hour.
burn begin.
Kilometers
That's where
per
the
hour.
first stage will
Sorry, I
ignite,
say miles and it's kilometers.
the center engine first, and then a couple seconds later ignite two more engines, so a total of 3 engine burn, which will last for
Uh-oh,
about
we
20
got another
seconds.
one here.
The entry burn
That was
slows down significantly as it re-enters
a
back
hamster.
into the
A
Earth's
hamster
atmosphere.
was up hiding. So now we
The
got
first
a
stage sees the
small
high drag, which
pigeon,
scrubs roughly
a
70%
big
of the velocity
a
by the
small
time
pigeon,
the
big
landing burn begins.
white squirrel, and a hamster over here.
Another view
Hamster
where you can
doesn't
see
want
the
to come
curvature
up.
of the Earth
He's
there on the
tangled
left-hand
with
side.
this
Dragon, SpaceX.
fence
Trajectory
wire
nominal.
over there. Damn it. Keep changing it on me. Altitude. Under 100 kilometers altitude. This one. This one
Gas that you see there.
slower
That's
than
used
before. It was
for,
199
attitude
kilometers.
control
It's slower than
systems. We also
199.
utilize
Look at
those grid fins. There's a total of 4 of them placed around the booster.
that. I'm gonna have a drink, guys. I'll leave you with the original audio here for a minute. And Florida Sirens.
Stage 2, flight
All right,
termination.
there we
Step
can
is safe.
see that entry burn has begun. We are targeting a landing on our drone ship called Gravitas today.
We got fire.
Everything continuing to look nominal with trajectory and MVAC performance there for our second stage on the right-hand side.
Uh-oh.
So we are conducting the entry burn.
39 kilometers
the
high.
booster
Stage 1, entry burn shut down.
Make your bets, everybody.
That entry burn
Is
slow the booster down.
are we gonna
It was
see this
going
touchdown
about
in
25
real
times the
time? It
speed of
will
sound.
be any cut
So
out.
we slow it
Will the
down
camera
as it
cut up
re-enters
and
the
pause
dense part of the
and
Earth's
say hang
atmosphere.
tight or whatever they say? Or will we have a visual for the one in the left at all times? Who is here in the call? You want to vote, Chai?
The next
it will
event
cut,
is
of course.
second engine cutoff, or SECO 1,
All
as
right.
you see it there on the timeline.
I think
at the
last
bottom of
time,
your screen.
a few days ago, they did one and it didn't cut up in the live
Two
stream.
terminal guidance.
That's where we shut down.
It's more
the
times than less
MVAC
that
engine
it does
for
cut up, you know,
second
like the
engine
signal
cutoff.
just pass or whatever.
Copy, Shannon. Stage 1 transonic.
6 kilometers high on this one. 5.5. I'm going down.
Note that
I don't know,
our
I'm at
landing
3.
burn and second engine cutoff will occur about the same time.
Shutdown.
All right, we got a live view of the crew inside.
2 kilometers
tracking depth
high.
there on
We're
the
breaking
right-hand
through
side of
the screen. Clouds now.
Stage
We're
1
getting
landing
very,
burn.
very close on kilometer 1.5.
Landing
1.
burn has begun for the first stage.
Oh shit! This is the time. 400 miles per hour. 400 kilometers per hour. 3.
Orbit insertion.
Uh-oh, I see the barge thingy where it should land. Are you gonna cut up?
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
Hey, look
Damn
at
it.
that from that angle. Look at that, man.
As you can see, this
Wow, they did good.
has landed for the
Yeah,
fifth
This
time.
one.
Finally, they
All the
managed to
while,
CGI
great
it.
commentary there.
Landing confirmed.
While we can confirm the landing.
Very nice. You know what? I'm gonna scroll back 10 seconds. Oh shit. Okay, look. Actually, I thought that this is the legs where you land, and then it just pulls something else up here a little. This one is. I didn't know this was a thing.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy. SpaceX Dragon launch skip system disarm.
Okay, these big ones.
As you can see,
So what are these flaps? They are not down in the bottom, right? The rockets.
Dragon.
They are higher up.
Those are the
Stage 1 landing leg
hands.
deploy.
The bottom are the legs.
But yeah, so these right here are these legs down here, right? Okay, the ones that are up in here, these big ones. So what are the arms in this one?
SpaceX Dragon launch skip system
In the
disarm.
actual rocket, what are these arms? Higher up here somewhere? I thought they were really low, really down in the bottom of the rocket. Because the camera looked like it's really high up. I don't know if the camera is somewhere up here or somewhere up here. The camera. And then we got these little arms, either right here that we don't see if sideways or higher up. Up here maybe? I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm confused now. I had a different picture in my mind on how this will look. And I've seen this a few times. But as you can see what I'm saying, it opened the legs, these legs, boop. And these legs that just open are
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
this one there right here, you see? The legs.
SpaceX Dragon.
Where is that square? Where did the square come from?
Stage 1 landing leg deploy. SpaceX Dragon
Who's this?
launch skip system
Little
disarm.
Maximize? Where's the square?
As you can see, this Falcon
Disarm. Stage 1
In the
landing leg
right.
deploy. SpaceX Dragon launch skip system disarm.
Look like a little bit of a magnification.
As you can see, this Falcon 9
I don't think it was there a few seconds
Landing leg
ago.
deploy. SpaceX Dragon launch skip
What
system
the
disarm.
hell? Alright, let me minimize full
As
screen.
you can see, this Falcon 9 has landed for
So confused. And go forward. There you go. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being patient. You 31 of you watching me analyzing this, looking at this live. I appreciate it. Now, we are on. We are on the Discord server Daily Boom. Please join and talk to me.
At which point they will then begin to make their journey, continue their journey to the International Space Station.
Hold on. I'm creating a new link to throw it in the YouTube chat box, and I will read some of your comments.
Currently looking at is inside the Dragon trunk, which, as you can see, has just separated from the second stage.
There's something went down here. Separation.
On behalf of the Falcon 9 team, welcome to space. Thanks for flying Falcon 9. Guys, enjoy your trip to that wonderful space station in the sky. Do some great research for us. We'll look
Right.
back here underground. Now stand by for some words.
Put that volume very low in the background. All right. We are here, guys. Welcome, everybody. Brufus, Shaik, Doofus, Farmers, and Moya. What's up?
Hello.
Hello. I was going to mention real quick that the barge camera does have a zoom section in its view. Yeah.
Right, there was a little square. I didn't even notice when it happened, like in the first time, real time, and I just went back quickly, but I didn't realize the first time there was a little zoom in the middle.
All right, you can set that up on range or on viewfinders, on camera viewfinders, to have a little zoomed square in. I think they just made a mistake there and put that on the stream for some reason.
Right. Okay.
Words there from a couple of key folks.
Nice. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? You guys were watching that, the landing thing?
No, I just got here. I missed it all.
I posted an image. You can see the fins are very high up.
Oh yeah, I see it. Thank you, Chike.
There we can see
Yeah.
Dragon Endeavor on its way.
The ride get more smooth with less atmosphere. Doofy said, yeah. The chicken dinner was cooking in the engine. Sorry, go ahead.
You commented on how the astronauts were inside, and the
Yes,
second
good.
engine was still on, and they looked like they were just chilling. But
They
yeah,
weren't
because
shaking
there's
or
less
nothing.
turbulence.
Yeah. All right. That's fair. That's good.
Was on the left, and pilot Larry Connor was on the right. Live view inside the cabin. They just got the okay to lift their visors.
If you cannot see your home from the booster, it must obviously be fake. I didn't see my home from the booster. I guess it's fake.
All right.
So the grids are really high up. Okay, those the little milk crate flaps that I call it. Okay.
This is a perspective issue. Huh.
Yeah, I know, because I didn't, and I saw those little legs. And when you see it from the top, it doesn't look as impressive as this one. This is impressive. This is the biggest legs, this good for balance. And these little flaps from the previous view, I thought they were down in the bottom, and that's what actually the legs of the plane where they stand on, I thought these little flaps were these things. Great fins. Don't try to tell me all the technical names. Let me call it milk crate flaps.
You can call them that, but they're called.
Yeah, just give me that,
And they're actually.
How many people?
Sorry, Doofus. How many people?
It's always like, right in the.
I'm still hearing some of the stream coming back at me. But the milk crate fins, if you want to call them like that, how many can you stack up and people still stand on them?
Oh man, yeah, I seen those. Those are those are hurtful. Those hurt. I don't know. I do two. I don't do more than two, for safety reasons. Yo, big shout out to RT96. I got a free super chat over here by RT. He's been member for 2 months. Yeah, sure. Just saw a rocket go up to space with a human crew, with the curvature of the Earth clearly, visibly, but level is horizontal. Shout out to RT96. Thank you very much, man. So much destruction with just that one video, the rocket going up. You see the behavior of the gases. You see the path of the orbit, as even if the rocket appears to go down from where you stand on, it's still gaining altitude. You see the separation. You see that motherfucker landing down. So much things, And then there's people inside.
Are you trying to invoke Lemon right now?
Anybody that want to join, want to come in and think that something off was going on with this launch, where were they going? I mean, where were the people going?
Well, look legit to me. I mean, they are the first. Was it the first fully civilian crew going to the ISS?
There we go. Can you define civilian for me?
Right. Then they're not military, and they're not NASA astronauts or anything like that. They're not part of NASA or Roscosmos or anything like that. They are civilian.
And they're not military. Are you sure on this crew that they are not military?
Well, there might be some ex-military, but I mean, generally, you
you're either military or civilian, because that's traditionally what it means. If you're in the armed services or you're a civilian, you're in civvies, you're in plain clothes. But it can also mean, yes, they're not NASA astronauts or anything like that. And I think each of them have paid an absolute fortune to do this. I mean, we're talking millions.
Don't you consider a NASA astronaut a civilian? NASA astronauts are not civilians, in your words, then. Or yes, or they are also civilians.
To be honest, I haven't actually looked into the background of who's just gone up or anything. It's just, I was going to watch it live earlier on, and it said, "Oh, it's launching in 3 hours," and I thought, bollocks, I've got work to do. And then, of course, I missed most of it. But there you go.
Yeah, because that was the slight argument that I had before the rocket took off. Me and Mojok Man, we had to define what is a civilian. Is it somebody that doesn't work in NASA? Because for my perspective, that was my angerness in previous shows. Civilian, in this term, when the way that I picture civilians, the way you were telling me, the way I interpreted to be was just regular middle class, average poor people like me or you, and that's not it. That I had a misconception. So I need to know what is a civilian, because all of the people that go up, they are either military, they have some kind of a background in science or math or physics or some of these, or they are background in military. So what is a civilian? Just somebody that is not in the NASA payroll? Maybe that's it.
Because
ex-military are civilian.
Yes,
just to make that clear.
Yeah, they're not military anymore. So that's the delineation between military and not. If you're in the armed forces, you're military. If you're not, you're civilian.
So I need who is not considered a civilian. That I think that'd be easier to look for here. So whoever is in NASA payroll is not considered a civilian. I guess we need to know who is not a civilian. I mean, at least one person or one group of people who will not be a civilian. Nope, I haven't get the answer yet.
So, serving armed forces are not civilians.
So what is military versus serving armed forces?
Well, it's the same thing, isn't it?
So they are not civilians then?
No, correct. If you're in the armed forces, if you're in the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, what have you, if you're serving, you're not a civilian, because that's pretty much what the definition of civilian is, I'm sure. But let me check.
So most of the NASA astronauts are civilians today, says Peter G.
In that definition, yes.
So in that definition, we have had civilians going to space for a long time. All of those astronauts in the ISS and going up and down, Then, you know what? There's nothing new, nothing special about this one. Because lots of civilians, by that term, by that definition, have been up there.
Maybe we're better off calling them private citizens then.
There you go. Thank you. I do. I got such a big problem with calling civilians.
I just generally call them civilians, but yeah, private citizens. What have you?
Okay. That's fair. Yeah, I'll take that.
All right, they paid for the ride?
Dude, there's a millionaire, multi-millionaire in this one. Yeah, 55 million-ish.
Yeah, it cost them a lot of money.
So commercial for sure then.
Oh, definitely commercial. Yeah, yes, because this has got no ties with NASA or any other, national space organization, anything like that. Because obviously,
commercial
SpaceX are commercial. The pilots are commercial. It's a private enterprise.
Yeah, commercial private citizens. Yeah.
Michael Lopez Alegria is one of the crew in the mission. Larry Connor and Mark Patty and Ethan says reported the full crew complemented, probably be unveiled in January. Action revealed the full crew of the mission, but was chosen as commercial astronaut. Michael Lopez Alegria was chosen as commercial astronaut. 3 other seats were reserved for private astronauts, so that they are called private astronauts. not these private citizens or private civilians. They call just private astronauts, in their term, in their own turf,
They paid for the privilege to be astronauts.
Yeah.
They're not going on a journey. They are astronauts doing work for Axion.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like I won the lottery last weekend and I just buy a ticket after just a checkup. All right, let me see. How's you? Cough, cough. Got my balls. Cough now. Bend over. Okay, you're good to go. Put this suit and go to space, It's not people like that. These people have some background and credentials and shit. Or not. Or am I wrong? Yeah, I don't know.
That's a very smart model of business to get the people pay you to work for you.
Yeah, but are these people normal people, or have they have credentials to be chosen over a person like me with a lot of money that just want to go up there?
Of course, you need money,
Right.
and they will, from all the people who has money, they will choose that are most appropriate.
How do you think they will determine that? By their credentials, by their previous jobs and skills?
I don't know. Maybe they get them tests they should do. I don't know.
Yeah. That's good. Appreciate that. What does Elon say? Elon's surprised when you say, "Holy fuck, that thing took off." Lemonbird, you're here. Lemonbird and Lemonbird. What do you think? There was another launch today, rocket launch with a bunch of people in it, and it was streamed live, and it was a success. What do you think?
Looks interesting. I didn't get to see it. I don't know what to think. Some people don't even think that these things are real. They'll point out a video where it looks like the tower was CGI'd in, or fake deceptive effects with the lighting, or something that looks more like a green screen than an actual event. But I would tend to think that it's real. They're just sending a rocket up there and it's, curving to avoid the firmament, and either, dropping off a balloon up there or coming back down in the Atlantic Ocean. But who knows?
Yeah. I mean, as for today, I looked very closely. I'm very skeptic about this ISS, people in the ISS, all the glitches and all that shit. But this one's happening as for recently and now. Very different, very well documented, all over the place. Too many civilians, too many regular people like you or me can go from a few miles away and look at it. The event happened. So, I mean, fake? No, I don't think so. That's just a big ass rocket. Little crew inside, a handful of people take off. They do the pop separation. They send these astronauts to cruise around the Earth or whatever circuit you want to do. The bigger rocket land back down, so they can reuse it. And that one capsule with the astronauts, then I don't know, they just go back down to Earth at some point.
There does appear to be a reusable element with these capsules, coming back down and things like that. I do wonder what's up there exactly.
No, you don't. You don't give a shit.
What do you mean? They will come back down in the capsule.
Interesting.
Yeah, they come back. The rocket come back down, and then the capsule with the astronauts also come back down.
Because I'm exploring as many possibilities as I can. Are they actual people in a green screen when they shoot some sort of, drone up there? Are they in the drone when it goes up there? Is it some sort of CGI fakery, the whole thing? Those are the range of explanations I'm exploring currently.
Doing anything to assess these versions, or are you just brain farting?
Looking at people's videos, using logic, reasoning, that sort of thing. What are you doing to explore their narrative other than watching a video?
So you're doing nothing.
J-Mac, I asked you, what are you doing to explore the narrative to see how hypocritical you are while you sit over there and
I'm
insinuate that I'm
assessing.
just dumb and
I'm
not doing
watching.
anything? Are you
I'm
doing the
using
same thing that
my.
I'm doing, looking at videos and trusting what you see? In that case, you're hypocritical. If you're doing anything additional, then my hat goes off to you. Otherwise, if you're insinuating that me doing the same thing as you is bad, well then, check your hypocrisy.
You win.
Yep. Keep in mind that we typically go on evidence for things, like in support of. Like if I say it could be fake, I would need evidence to support that. Now, that said, when I am presented evidence of fakery, what it typically involves is compression issues, where part of the packets that were delivered weren't delivered in full. And the reason I know this exclusively, because I've worked on H.263 based communication systems in the past. And I know how compression artifacts present themselves when part of the signal is lost.
Interesting. So you're getting a signal from somewhere up there, basically. A compression signal or something like that from somewhere up there, basically. And you're saying that that says that, you know, these rockets are going and doing what they're saying they're doing, right?
I mean, like today event, we saw it happening. I don't understand much of this. And today was one of those days that Farmer Boy wasn't here. Farmer Boy knows a lot and he likes to, kind of narrate. He wasn't here. It was just me. Just me ranting and babbling as the rocket went off. And Chaik was here kind of, we commented on it, just making a few jokes. But if you see an event like that happen, like what happened earlier live, half an hour ago, it's nothing to doubt about that there was a rocket launch with some people inside that went cruising up very high up. You know, that's what's going on.
Interesting.
What still blows my mind is this technology of the rocket landing back down. But as I have seen from the early 60s or 70s, 90s, from the 90s or whatever, NASA and other, agencies have been working with this technology of landing rockets back down. They're shooting it up, and then they open the flaps or whatever in the bottom, then land back down. So they've been working with this. Now, this Elon Musk guy, he's got that perfection. Now he is able to launch shit up to very high up. Separation, poop, he pop up there, whatever he want to drop in the space. What do you call space? Don't get triggered by the word space. But he just drop whatever he's got to drop, and then the rocket land back down. Whatever system he's got to, and just landed in bull's eye. It's mind blowing, And it seems to be real because there's no way to fake this when, as I said earlier, people like you or me can go and watch it. I haven't done it, but a lot of other people have done it. Not people with they need special credence. Just people from across the street that say, "Oh yeah, I found a nice spot. Let me park in here, zoom this motherfucker, and see these rockets launch and land back down." So that is something that happens.
I loved how all the auto hoaxers were saying that those rockets were fake when they were landing and stuff. It's like,
yeah, there was a big thing. Yeah, because this is kind of a new thing. These big ass rockets landing back down is a little bit of a mind boggle thing. It looks very sci-fi thing. But then when people start, when themselves go and recording, they have to. I mean, right now you don't find most of the people that need to say that this is a hoax on these rockets are landing back down because they have seen them. I appreciate
I
that.
could see you saying, I would like to see one of these land because I'm incredulous.
Yeah. It's cool to see one's evolution, into the argument as you are. One is proven wrong, in different points. So I think, Lemon, still not telling you that you have to accept it, not trying to convince you, but telling you that this is a thing that. What do you think? Will something click and change your mind if you personally see one of these events happen?
I've already changed my mind about the shape of the Earth once. it wouldn't bode well for stability's sake or sanity's sake if I just went up and down with the globe, flat narrative. But I'd have to see what's available. I'd have to say that I'm biased toward the globe narrative, though, and not too inclined to believe anything about it or anything concerning it. But I'd have to look and go from there.
I don't think in the topic of the rockets, yes, NASA and space agencies, they push the propaganda of the globe and exploring, and you see all these balls and planets. But if you see these events as just their own single events, uh, this event that I saw today, I wasn't even looking at the background as the Earth, if it was curved or not, because there's distortions on the lens. I don't care about that, but I care about the actual event on the rocket launch and landing, and I could appreciate that took place as for what it is, as for the launching and the landing and stuff.
Whether it's green screen or, the real deal, I guess we need to go from there and explore what's going on.
So that's why I asked you, if you saw it land, what would you think? As just a rocket, not the shape of the Earth, nothing to do with that. Just the fact that you see one of these rockets come back down to Earth and land in the way that's shown on telly.
If I saw that part of the narrative, I, try to deal with that part of the narrative from a flat Earth perspective. I think that I would think that they're landing a rocket over a flat plane. That something's going up, probably avoiding the firmament, and coming back down. That's as far as I would go. For any other part of the narrative to be necessary, the globe specifically, I need additional stuff. But until then, I just like, okay, the rockets, coming back down over a flat plane.
So, yeah, you just basically admitted that the fact that these rockets land in the way they do doesn't really necessitate the need for any form of greeny, screeny live stuff going on there.
Yeah, that's what I tried to mention. Like, I look at this event as a separate, entity. I don't have anything to do with if the Earth is a globe or not, but just as a rocket, as an event of a vehicle took off, landed back down. That's a thing, I appreciate that for what it is. Nothing to do with the shape of the Earth in that sense.
I mean, I have seen rockets, little mini rockets before, so there has been precedent for me to accept that rockets could exist. But the stuff that, makes me question rockets is stuff like Owen Benjamin saying that, he saw a rocket launch in black and white from like the 50s or something. And the way that it was moving up and down inertially implied that it was probably a hollow balloon with nothing inside of it or something like that. Something to that effect. He said that the way that it was moving up and down based off of inertial forces, if it was as heavy with a payload that, they say it was or whatever, it would be falling apart from the
moving up and down. Could you explain that?
Up and down. So it looks like he was implying that either it's, fake and or a hollow balloon with nothing inside of it.
Could you explain the moving up and down thing?
Look out for. What was that, Mark?
Could you explain the moving up and down thing? I'm not sure I've ever heard that before.
I'll have to see if I can find his broadcast.
Yeah,
This was a Dearth DITRH original posting, I believe.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that because this is what happens. Like a few years ago, when I saw something like that resonated with me. When I saw something glitched, and a lot of this glitch happens in older videos from early 90s or 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s NASA, the early NASA. But then now today, that's a few years ago. Now today, in this present, I really, when I want to appreciate the quality of something, I look for the most modern and highest quality that I can analyze. That did some glitch happens 50, 40, 30 years ago, maybe in a video, maybe. There's all kinds of odd artifacts happening in older videos. Look at today video was in freaking 4K live. I mean, look for the last few years, 2 or 3 years videos. Look for the last 10 years videos. Now, you want to really hold on to, I really don't want to believe anything else because I saw a video from 50 years ago. Think about it and just get into your own brain and just, sleep on it, Lemon. What do you think about that? Do you really want to entertain what happened in a 50 years old video versus what happens today in a video live, for example?
I kind of want to help Lemon out in this particular case. This was actually the one that he's referring to is from when the space shuttle was still in service. The boosters and the space shuttle all together, you could visibly see in the footage that they had, once the engines ignited, lifted up slightly in the tower before it did full liftoff. And the reason why I bring that up and why he's bringing it up is there's a lot of force being delivered by that engine right there at the moment that it's being ignited. So clearly something's going to move. To say that that implies that it must be a hollow balloon, or that if it was a full-size payload with that amount of weight that it would rip apart, is just an argument from ignorance. That's not how this thing's done, how we deal with evidence.
Because he was in the black and white video that I saw. Thank you for talking about that video. Because I was wondering, what he was talking about with this black and white video showing a rocket that looked like it was in the launch pad, just kind of sitting there, kind of bobbing up and down a little bit, like it's bobbing up and down in the wind. And, when they said that, I said, I never thought about that. If I saw a building, bobbing up and down that way, I'd be like, there must be a tornado or something like that, or this building must be about to fall apart or something to that effect. But I don't know, it may be a big nothing burger, but that's what they said in the video, and it made me think, from a flighty perspective, what exactly are these rockets filled with? What are they actually doing over a flat plane, that sort of thing.
Right, but the engine is delivering thrust. It has the necessary thrust to lift the entire vehicle into space. So in order to have that amount of thrust necessary to do that, of course, once you light that thing, the thing's going to bob up and down because it's trying to go up.
Because it looked like it was in the launch pad, just kind of waiting to go up in the air, just kind of bobbing up and down before liftoff or something. But I'd have to look at the video again with
the engine's lit.
Perhaps I missed something. But it was an interesting take on the subject that I never thought about before. Are these balloons bobbing up and down? Are they filled with anything? Is this real? Is this fake? That sort of thing.
But don't you
think it's hard to say that if they had enough thrust to lift the entire rocket and not expect it to bob up and down is a faulty expectation?
I think Lemon's intimating the fact that the rockets weren't on. I'm not sure if he is recollecting his video. I may need to go and watch it again, but that was the impression I got from his talk.
Now, this balloon, is it a rocket-shaped balloon? Whatever it is, I mean, when I used to call balloon on Lemon, what you call balloon? It could be a rocket-shaped, but a balloon because it got helium and the behavior is different. Is that it?
Something like that, or it's really just a hollow thing with only like a solid tip, or only part of it solid, to make it light enough to put up in the air rocket-wise. Those would be the possibilities I would explore based off of that.
But these flames coming out of the bottom of this thing represent thousands upon thousands of tons of fuel burning per second. And there's not a way to have a balloon not weigh a shit ton. Because, essentially what you're talking about, these rockets are balloons. They hold enough propellant in there, and they're just strong enough to hold that propellant without blowing up. And then they dump this fuel and make a big fire. And you can't make fire that's 300 feet long and 45 feet wide at that rate unless you have a ton of fuel. Or I should say, almost a megaton of fuel.
That's what I call I personally. I'm with Lemon. That's what I call rocket science. I'm not into rocket science. I'm into the bigger picture that I don't know. Let's say it's a fucking balloon. It's a fucking rocket-shaped balloon thing. They fill it up with whatever, some kind of chemicals in one side. With helium. It's not exactly what they tell us, but still doesn't make a difference on the the result on these rockets go up hundreds of miles up, sometimes hundreds of kilometers,
Really
thousands of kilometers.
fast.
They go up really fast. They drop loads. They throw people up there. They cruise around and they land back down. Some of them are now with the SpaceX. It doesn't change one thing to another. So I don't really want to get into this rocket science because we will get lost in the bigger picture that rockets are launched, and that's kind of a fact. We cannot deny that.
Fair enough. I do like speaking to laymen, even though laymen may not, necessarily be rocket science themselves, because the experts, they don't know.
I am illiterate in all this kind of shit level. That's what I like. I appreciate talking to some of these guys. They get triggered by me sometimes because I tell them as a joke, dude, I'm math illiterate. I'm geometry illiterate. I'm space illiterate right now. Still, we can understand each other, and that's the beauty of this type of shows.
Well, I tend to prioritize the layman's, view of things as opposed to the experts, because sometimes the experts are so lost in their job, they can't bring things down to earth. They can't make things accessible. They don't really help you solve the problem. It's like they're only ready to speak to other experts, and then, it's like everybody else can go kick rocks or something. That's why I like to speak to other people and just be like, well, what do you think from a common sense perspective? Whether we're expert, whether we got it right or not, can we think about this and really work this out in some sort of, common sense way? Or do we have to just listen to the baffled garble of the, frustrating experts, try to lead us down some sort of confusing, inconsistent path in some cases?
Isn't that what I'm doing with you? I'm trying to, you see a big ass fire coming out of something. You've had experience with fire, propane, gasoline, stuff like that. You've seen how much fire you can get out of a cup of gasoline or a bottle of propane. And we see really, really big fire coming out of these things. And there's got to be a crap load of fuel, right? That this is us working it out.
That seems
let's go on.
logical.
Talk about just a common sense approach to it. Have you ever seen a helium balloon accelerate vertically that rapidly? Anywhere close to that rapidly. Can it even do 2% of the speed that thing's doing by the time it's at 30,000 feet?
The closest I ever saw, The closest I ever saw blue was like a rocket on the 4th of July. It would have to have a fairly solid body. But most of the rest of it is like gunpowder and, But it would be going up like a, what do you call it? A firecracker, like zoo, 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 kind of twirling in and out, one would assume. So I don't know if it's like filled with, firecracker, 4th of July, gunpowder, or a payload or what.
How is that a direct comparison to all the rocket powered weapons and satellite launches we've seen that go on ubiquitously? I mean, it's just ubiquitous. These aren't one-offs. This is like SOP, standard technology.
I mean,
all those solid rocket boosters are not a lot different than your 4th of July whiz zoom rocket, Lemon. They're solid rockets. They've got a solid fuel in them. That's the explanation for why you see the shuttle rocking around. It had 3 liquid fuel rockets, main shuttle. Those engines needed to come up to power, and they needed to verify everything was working right, because once you light those solid rockets, you can't unlight them. You can't put them out. You can't stop them. They're going to go. And on numerous occasions, they had shutdowns right there on the launch pad when the main engines of the shuttle, the liquid fuel rockets, were not performing properly. It happened. I don't know how many times that happened. Many more than once, I guarantee you that.
And the shutdown may not even have been. And the shutdown may not have been engine failure. It was just some other red light, and the solids had not yet torched off, so they were able to make an abort.
We gotta give them an opportunity to answer that in the back.
I'm just listening. I guess the next part of my global skepticism about this would be: do we have any humans that have gone, in these rockets commercially. Like, can I get a nice, affordable trip in this rocket to be like, oh, I've been inside of here. You know, there's a seat over here. There's a payload over here. I can believe this narrative. You know, it would be nice if we could get commercially available spaceflight in one of these things so I can, you know, put some of my skepticism to rest anyway.
I want to comment on that. I want to comment.
The past couple of weeks.
Yeah, I want to comment on that. And that was exactly what happened. And I'm doing the air quote, what happened today in the lunch earlier today. Commercial, and I'm doing the air quote again, commercial flights, but there are only 55, as low as $55 million a commercial flight. So Lemonbird, as low as $50 million, you can get one of these rockets and go up. What do you think?
It was so economical.
I love it.
So it just because it's expensive how does that not a requirement for it to be cheap?
And I'm not saying it's fake and it didn't happen, but I'm saying that, you know, I'm with Lemon and I got this argument and I got this spine like, damn it, you know, why it has to be so fucking expensive? And my argument was, what do you consider a civilian earlier? But I'm not even talking about the term of the civilian going to space. They might have work in the army or military, or they might have, I don't know, they might have expertise in math and science and physics, but I'm talking about how fucking expensive it is. I think by the time that gets so cheap for people like us to go, Lemonbird, maybe a few $1,000 rides, that's gonna be 200 or 300 years from now, probably. Maybe never.
Here's a really simple analogy.
Dross, thank you. Let me hear Lemon's thought. I don't think that's gonna happen in a lifetime, Lemon. That's not gonna be cheap enough for us, the layman's, to go up.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably be dead. And, you know, since I'm conspiratorial and religious-hearted about this, I would love to get an affordable trip. But there are practical things that
me too.
Can include that. What was Stingray? Was it?
Dross. Stingray.
Dross.
Within our lifetime, there'll be space janitors. There'll be low-end employees.
You can work.
Let's get Dross. Yeah, Dross was online. Yeah,
sorry. That's all right. I mean, I was just going to do a simple analogy. I mean, I've been lucky enough. I've flown Concorde twice. I've been twice beyond the speed of sound. Has anyone here done that? Has anyone else done that?
I mean, no.
I've flown Concorde once, so you beat me.
It's not a common experience. Not many people. And one, I was really surprised how small the inside of the plane was. That freaked me out.
And
go ahead.
That's
what I mean. It's again, you know, just because a few people have had the experience doesn't invalidate the experience that they've had.
That actually, Lemon, your thoughts after, I've just got a quick thought. That put it in perspective now, changed a little bit the way I think, because not everybody have flown in a plane today. I mean, not everybody has, and not everybody will in their lifetime. They will not have enough money to go on a plane trip, you know? So that kind of, you know, they got a point now. What do you think, Lemon?
I would have to have faith. And sometimes my faith is lacking. Sometimes my faith is sufficient to believe that these astronauts went up there, or maybe they're astro-nauts that did not. So I'd have to have faith in somebody else's experience. But the more people who say they've had this experience, you know, like with commercial air flights showing that airplanes are a thing, whether or not I've been on one, okay, that's easier for me to have faith. But if it's like a select group of millionaires spending, you know, 25 times more than I'll ever make in a lifetime, or any typical worker will make, sometimes 25, 50 times more than a person will ever make in their lifetime, it's really hard for me to believe that that's a thing.
Yeah, that's true. I could be a bottom of the Mariana Trench denier too, because I think, as their argument is, less people have been in the bottom of the deepest of the ocean than have been up in space, and I have to agree with that. Even though what they call space is just 50 or 60 miles above the Earth, those things have happened in the past few months a few times. You know, a bunch of people go up and cruise around very high up, and there's more evidence for people that have gone up 50 and 60 miles up in these last few months rides than the bottom of the ocean, where just 2 or 3 cruise of a handful of people have gone there is off, you know. to me.
Well, when we have faith in any narrative, gentlemen, we talk about the things that lead up to that narrative, making us feel comfortable having faith about it. I'm pretty comfortable saying that the Marianas Trench is a thing because people have dived and talked about the bends. I've been in water. The water has sometimes been fairly deep. It's not too much of a jump to say there's some pretty deep water out there, like a trench. Even occultists who talk about the marine kingdom, the ocean under the ocean with mermaids, demons, and stuff like that, where people are, entrapped and their souls are taken. So that implies a really deep world down there, along with the videos that I've seen of brine pools that are supposedly so deep, so thick, and so impenetrable, you really don't know what's down past there. So a trench for me is just a hop, skip, and a jump within that framework of something to believe that's pretty fairly easy to believe.
But is the same as here? Because we are right now like I can believe in the bottom of the ocean because I have gone to the beach and I swam and I go inland a few miles inside in the water, and then I dive down and it's really deep. The same thing. We are here. We are in space right now. We are breathing the air, and if we get higher and higher, we experience this change to what space is. So we are experiencing the same way. Same thing as going deep down in the ocean or going high up above the earth. It's pretty much
not
the same.
Exactly the same. Well, you have a really good point, Jose. That and it's remember that one time where that James Bond villain was right? Yeah, that was James Bond, the spy who loved me. He's got this underwater base. He's like 70% of our our surface of Earth is unexplored. Our oceans, and yet we're out into space. Okay, that's the old James Bond villain argument. Got it. So I really love the previous comment. The gentleman said that he's flown, twice the speed of sound, etc. I've flown over the North Pole twice. I don't know if anybody else has done.
I don't know where are you going with this, man. You're off topic big time.
I am agreeing with the other guy. Just because we haven't been to the bottom of the Marianas Trench, or you haven't been over the North Pole, and I would just want to finish my quick comment with, I doubt that Lemon Bird is gonna, take even a free flight into space.
Well, bro, Alum, when you went to the North Pole, did you find what we expected to find? Sometimes when we don't find what we expect to find, it makes it hard to believe. Like with the trench example, we would expect a lot of water to be weighing down on you and for there to be a whole lot of pressure. That's just part and parcel of what we would expect. So we tend to believe the rest of it as long as it's keeping in, keeping with the rest of what we already believe. Like a fishing in a pond, I expect to have a limit past which I cannot go, aka a firmament. That gives me, a limit, a barrier past which I can't go, as opposed to having, this vast reach of, limitless, space where I could just go anywhere. That's kind of harder to believe. I have a house with boundaries. I have a town with boundaries. Can I go beyond those boundaries? Sure, up to a point, but I have limits. I can't go past the highest mountain without suffocating. I would be expected not to go past the firmament without being like, oh, I can go up to here, but no further. This space narrative is hard to believe at that point once you think about things like that.
Well, wouldn't you have to find that barrier in order to say that barrier exists? Because you're saying that you think that this limit must exist, but what evidence do you have that it does exist?
What stuff makes me comfortable inferring and declaring on faith that it exists for me? Sundogs, parhelions, they look like the sun is shining off of a curved glass surface. Plus, gas needs something to press against to stop pressing and settle into a layer. And that would be a firmamental barrier to press against, at least initially. And then after the gas loses energy, it can settle in the density tower of the ether of space based off of, say, electromagnetic charge. It could go to this layer, it could go to this layer, it could go up, it could go down, it could float. After equilibrium has been reached and everything's been settled, after pressing against the firmament as much as it can before just, settling down to its layer.
Right. The amount of pressing on said firmament that you think is there would have to be extremely low, basically a vacuum next to the barrier, given the measurements that we have available in the atmosphere right now.
Yeah. After everything's settled. But initially, you'd expect that gas to be pushing up against this prison barrier and be like, I can't go anywhere else. I'm going to have to settle down and go to my layer in this density tower, up, down, floating, or whatever. But initially, we would need containment.
Right, but if there's a vacuum on our side of that barrier, then why is the barrier there? We suddenly remove the barrier, there's still a vacuum next to it, where it used to be.
If you say like a barrier is ether, sure, there is an etheric medium that's left over in the vacuum called ether that is always there, yes. But if you take away that barrier, things would start to expand. One would assume that gas would be like, oh, this barrier that was here before is no longer there. I could start expanding again. And
Why
after
would
that,
it expand? There's
what
no
happened
pressure.
here? The pressure is still there in the background. Things have just gone to equilibrium. So I would disagree and say when you say there's no pressure, the pressure's there. It's just everything's settled down, but that pressure is still in the background, lurking, waiting to break out once the barrier is broken.
Right, it's measurably not there. Right? Any means that we have in our reality to measure the existence of that pressure. You take a weather balloon, for instance, and at the significant altitudes that they can reach, the hundreds of thousands of feet plus, they measure less than 0.1 psi. There's so little pressure up there. There's no reason for a barrier to even exist.
I'd have to look into it. I guess the ether absorbed this energy, and it's in a form that you can't quite note. I thought that even in closed systems, energy can come in and out, just not solid matter. So this pressure that we're not measuring, is it absorbed by the ether? Did it float through the ether, through the outside barrier in the form of energy in this closed system? That's what I would have to explore with my bias and my dedication to this theory now.
Big shout out and big thank you to two groups of people. The group of people in the YouTube land having fun over here. I appreciate everybody on YouTube in the chat box. Hit that thumbs up if you are enjoying the show. You just ask them and they say that the show looks good and sounds good. They look. I'm just showing some memes in the background as the voice is solid. Everybody is being heard today. And over here to you guys on Discord server. Everybody, fantastic behavior today. I'm proud of everybody, including myself. I'm not just going crazy and interrupting, being an asshole to anybody today. So thank you guys. Yeah, having a back and forth, cool discussion among us. It's all good. Thank you.
Devil's Advocate had an interesting question about the barrier touching the earth. I would say yes, it touches the earth on one of those pillars in like the biblical cosmology. You'll see a biblical cosmology conception of flattish land on pillars on top of watery deep with a firmamental dome barrier touching down and then closing the thing, closing it off from the surrounding water. The water's below and the water's above. That's what I would go with my religious retardation. And somebody was talking about something else in the chat. Some of these questions are very interesting. The density tower failing in free fall. The plane is going up and down with that density tower and that plane that mixes up, and it has kinetic energy. And that kinetic energy alone, I would assume, would be enough to mix up that tower. And so it's not necessarily a loss of gravity when this zero-G plane is going up and down, and these curves to get this zero-G effect in free fall. It still has a lot of kinetic energy that is communicated to the things inside, including the density tower, and becomes sufficient to mix up the tower. But once things are nice and settled, it will settle into its density layers once more. So I think it's just kinetic energy just mixing up the tower and just kind of shaking it up a bit. That's all.
All right.
I don't necessarily think it's a loss of gravity.
I'd like to comment on that. If you go faster than this 9.8 meters per second, the tower re-equalizes in inverse.
Really? That is fascinating. I did not know that.
So more energy makes it all stabilize again. Huh. Weird that.
Fascinating. Because the conception of the ether that I go with generally is this organizing principle of space. Space tells objects, okay, you need to be organized in a certain shape. Otherwise, we're gonna disorganize you or destroy you when we, press against you. And so space is generally an organizing principle that says you go to this layer, you go to this layer, you take this shape, you do this thing, you move up, you move down, that sort of thing. And so if you're going up and down in that zero-G plane, space is doing some crazy stuff, being like, okay, we got to organize this stuff somehow. We need to layer this stuff in a certain way based off of the energy that's in space, the energy that's in these objects, and we will decide whether the tower goes this way, that way, mixes up, whatever. That's the way that I think of the ether.
Isn't that the opposite of entropy?
That space organizes instead of disorganizes? I guess it could be the opposite of entropy. I guess entropy at that point would be, can an object keep its energy without losing it to space? If an object loses its energy to space, then it would tend to be entropic. If it can keep its energy in space, maybe it could keep some of that organization and, I don't know, be less entropic or something. That's the way I would think of it.
I like this GIF, Lemon, that I posted. I don't know if you're watching my screen share, the memes. It's a beautiful visual representation of the ether. It's a mix between ether and the waters above. Look at that. How pretty it looks.
Gotta show the waters above some love.
Right? Look at that. It actually looks cool, right?
Yeah, I bet he feels like an astronaut in the ocean.
Water bubbles in space. Between space being an ether that is immaterial and just kind of flows in and out of objects, and or being the waters above of creation, it's kind of hard to know what, if anything, space is. The solid firmament, evacuated ether, waters above. Who knows?
There's a quick question, a quick point by Professor Phil Bell. You might have, answered this in different ways a few times, probably a few days ago when I was here. The professor said, if Lemon closes his eyes and imagines Earth as flat, I wonder what he sees.
Flat, yeah. It's like an A.E. Gleason map for the general layout of the continent. But if you're talking about the pillars and the firmament and the waters above and under the heavenly throne of God, that's from the biblical cosmology. So it's kind of I go with a mishmash of the biblical cosmology with an A.E. Gleason map for the general layout of the continents and stuff, surrounded by an Arctic ice ring where the firmament touches down beyond that.
You don't think too much about the problems that the globe debunkers community have found with the AE map on paths and the rotations, movements on the celestial bodies. I mean, all kinds of things about distances and stuff in the AE map. Are there a resolution for all of those problems on an AE map?
Well, if they show me theirs, I'll show them mine, to get them all the way off my back, bro. And to check, any level of hypocrisy or whatever on their side or mine, I need to see what they've accepted. It seems that they've accepted a globe app that has the continents out of proportion. So even their globe, thing on the desk has problems. It needs to be flattened out to put the continents in proper relief, as far as I can tell. So if they have that problem, okay, well, what problems does my quote unquote conception have? I have an A.E. Gleason map that appears to have the continents in a different orientation. But if you use the legend properly, I think you're supposed to go from your location on the flat, ish map, go back to the central North Pole and go out to get proper distances and proper, sizes of the continents. Once you use the key properly, Jose, basically, the map doesn't have a problem. So I'm wondering, what is the issue with the A. Gleason map if you use the key properly to get the proper distances and the proper use of the map?
No sunset.
I'm sorry. There seems to be a little problem there with your analogy there, Lemon, because without any legend on my globe, I can find out the distance between continents. All the distances work perfectly. All I need to do is take a piece of string, measure one known distance, and it works everywhere.
Right, and there's one other fundamental issue with using a key in order to change how you're responding to the distances. What that means is that the southern latitudes, if you're using that key to shorten them, that physically the surface would be smaller, which means it can't be flat.
And Australia's not shaped like a banana. It's not stretched out. It's not. You can just fly east
Yeah,
to
let's
west.
let's go one point at a time. Yeah, Moyog Man first, and Lemon, you wanna address him, and then on the other problem.
Well, bro, Alamo is basically talking about Australia being shaped like a banana or Australia looking bigger than it should. Basically, Australia and America, based off of their size of roughly 3,000 miles, should be about the same size visually, one would assume. But because of the way the map was constructed, you have pie slices that are expanding outward. So for the same pie slice, America toward the center would look smaller than Australia toward the outer rim. But if you use the key properly for each section, it looks like they're both in the proper relief based off of the video that I saw anyway. So it looks like the problem is using the key properly. The globe, as far as I can tell, is deceptively peddled to us as is, despite the fact that on the bottom of it, it says, for entertainment purposes only. And it doesn't have the continents in the proper relief. So how could these distances be proper? It looks like there's going to be trade-offs with any map that you use based off of the assumptions that underlie the map. If you're saying that basically for an A.E. Gleason map, the sun is over here, there's a line going from the North Pole Center that we idealize to the sun, wherever it is, you're going to get radiating pie slices as you have this idealized longitude line pointing from the North Pole to wherever the sun is circling over the plane. You're going to get pie slices. Now, are those going to give you as-is distances or as-is visualization where North America and Australia look like the same size, or are you going to get an expanding pie slice where North America is toward the inner part of the pie slice and looks thinner, and Australia looks bigger? It looks like it's a vicissitude of map making and some of the assumptions. I would go with the assumptions of the A.E. Gleason map, since it looks like we're on a flat plane with the North Pole in the center and an Antarctic ice ring.
That sounds like
If you
didn't
go with
answer
the
anything I
A.E.
said.
Gleason map and you're using the legend to modify the distances, what you're saying is the surface toward the south is smaller than the surface at the equator.
For the same unit, to keep things proportional. What was that, Blue?
And what that key is trying to do is turn that pie slice you're talking about into something that's shaped more like a football, Lemon. That's what it's doing. What you're doing is trying to turn that flat map into a sphere. That's what the key is for. It won't work any other way.
Well, continents have a northern and a southern section. If we're assuming a northern center with an Antarctic ice ring, then it's going to have to be a radiating pie slice based off of the necessity of that assumption.
Address what
Well,
I
what
just
about my
said.
lack of a key?
Address what I said. The legend is trying to turn that pie-shaped thing you're talking about into something that looks more like a football shape.
So you say it's going to be fatter toward the equator and taper toward the
Yeah.
pole? I don't know.
That's exactly what it does. That's what the legend does, Lemon.
But Antarctica looks bigger visually, if you're going to go with that, visually, than America, even though they're the same size. So you're going to need to use that properly to get the right size.
What that legend's literally trying to do is turn the outer perimeter of that circle into a point.
Well, I guess to keep
the only way that can be is if it's a sphere.
Well, for a sphere, we need to have curvature. So even your idealized model has problems because we're not seeing curvature. And so there's vicissitudes, and, errors or whatever, or problems that are going to need to be dealt with in that sense. Number one, we can't draw a straight line at sea. The vessel is being tossed to and fro, pushed by the wind. And as far as we can tell, we can't keep a vessel straight enough to get any sort of straight grid-like map that we would like. That's a huge problem for map making. So the best thing to do in that scenario is get the land more or less correct and superimpose it onto a generalized background ocean schema. Moyak, you were saying?
I said we have an external reference we use for that.
Which is?
Stars, which give us accurate measurements on land and sea, and all approaching land, you can get accurate numbers. We can follow a straight line as straight as an arrow.
So we're going to use the stars as our reference. Okay. The stars
do they work uniform? Do they work accurately?
And appear to come out from position.
Do they work accurately to give us accurate positions on land?
Yeah, because we have the same star field overhead. The question is it circling over a ball or over a flat plane? The only motion
they work accurately over when you're 60 miles offshore? Will I be about 1 degree offshore?
I assume so, sure.
So, like, I can keep on doing that. And I'm pretty sure that they work over water too. So, I mean, we get accurate numbers that you can produce lines from.
Okay, so you have a record overhead of stars centered at the North Pole, giving you generalized curves and stars that go along what we call lines of latitude. But the only motion that we know of that makes the same object, assuming it's the same object, return over and over again is a circle. So we're going to infer pretty logically that the stars are circling overhead on some level. The question is, yet again, is it circling over a globe like a flattish record? Is it deformed by the curved glass or whatever of the dome? And or is it over a curved Earth surface? These are the main assumptions we need to cover to see
I'm talking about
what
straight lines right
those
now.
stars are doing as they circle overhead.
I thought you were describing or asking if we could tell a straight line on Earth, and it seems like we can.
We would
Because
have to
on
look
land, I can tell it's bullet straight or laser straight using stars. So I know that straight stars give me straight lines if I use them properly. So your question lies then in whether they're doing, they're navigating improperly.
The question is, instead of having a straight line over the water, we're looking at the stars and making a bunch of inferences. Is it circling over flat land? Is it circling over curved
not a
land?
flat surface. I'm talking
Is
about
it
straight lines.
circling and being deformed by the curvature of the dome? Is it circling within the dome? These
Can
are
I tell a distance?
things to figure out.
Can I tell a distance and whether I went in a straight line? Not talking about the curvature of the one-axis curvature.
Based off of your assumption, sure, but you wouldn't be able to draw a line on the water. You would have to look at the sky and infer what's going on.
Is that inference unjustified?
It depends on whether you're saying it's circling over flat land or circling over a curved ball.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. Is it accurate or is it not accurate? Did I go in a fucking straight line or not go in a fucking?
If you can do it over land and follow the same method over the ocean, what's the problem?
For the purposes of whether we're traveling over flat land or a curved ball, those assumptions need to be challenged.
That doesn't address the problem. If we can do it over land and we can verify that what we're doing is following the shortest path over land using celestial navigation, then we should be able to do the same thing over the ocean unless special pleating were employed, which you're currently doing.
One would assume, yes.
All right, so what's the problem? We can have the distances, we can do those kinds of things over land and water.
The question is, are we assuming that we're going over a ball or a flat plane for the purposes of the shape of the Earth discussion?
Okay,
And
well, we can dig deeper. We can dig deeper into that
perspective,
topic when we address, the actual navigation method itself. You did say that the thing was, we were plotting the stars centered around Polaris, which is not true. It's actually all of the stars fit into a celestial sphere. They have two centers of rotation.
But are the two centers of rotation due to perspective, refraction off of glass atmosphere? Because we have two centers of rotation that emerge in that Spanish dude's video. So assuming that the stars are giving us this straight standard may be off, especially toward the south, where more refraction appears to be coming into play and more funny business with what, if anything, is occurring with these stars.
See, the problem is you're just saying it could be off. We just went through the whole process of verifying that if it works on land, we know it's not off. But now you're going to go back to it could be off.
Yeah, because the star trail that the Spanish dude showed in his video was reversing. It was not showing a constant, rotation this way or that way. It was reversing depending on how far away you were from the northern center. So we would be looking at the sky and making assumptions about a ball when it's really just a flat surface whose stars overhead are deformed by refraction, dome, glass, or perspective or something else. So our assumptions become, easy to challenge at that point about what, if any, shape we're on when we're looking at these stars overhead.
So the Spanish guy makes a video with a paperweight, and you now think that it's plausible.
If we're going to
have a really low standard of evidence.
If you're going to go with something that's demonstrable, observable, and repeatable, and yet again, Moyak, the experts are no good for this since they're too lost in their careers and too busy trying to fool people with baffle garbled nonsense. If you talk about something that's common sense, observable, plain, and repeatable, that's extremely compelling.
Wait,
I just want to get in real quick. The Spanish dude being referenced here. When Lemon said that he demonstrated that the stars were going in opposite directions. That's not actually true if you actually use one of those glass dome, half spheres.
I'm sharing that image on. It was just posted by you, Doofus. I'm sharing that on the stream.
Right. To say that was demonstrated that they were going in opposite directions, that's not actually the case. What he demonstrated was that the paths that they were following were curved, but not that they were following in opposite directions.
One's curving up, one's curving down. I can see it right there toward the edge of the glass. You can see one kind of curving downward, one kind of curving upward right there.
But they're all moving from left to right in our view of this glass thing. They're not rotating around a central point.
And by what logic is that an analog for what we see?
You see a star trail forming toward the northern center that is opposite to, or appears to be going opposite
to the
star trail that's forming out toward the south.
A solid piece of glass which is localized and not even staggered over a center. How is that at all geometrically, physically, in any relation whatsoever to the Earth upon which we tread and the stars that we see?
That could be imitating the solid firmament dome that we see with a similar effect. That could be imitating the limits of our perspective.
That's not a dome. That's not a dome. That is a solid block of glass with a flat bottom that's curved on one side.
You cannot be literal. Yeah, you cannot be too literal in this type of demonstrations.
You have to be literal enough to have an explanation that is worth exploring to figure out whether it's the truth or not. If we get lost in, literary, alliteration or, something that's not literal, we get a bunch of garbage that can't even be explored to see if it's true or false or not.
But this thing that we see here on the screen as it was shared to us is actual garbage. It's not describing what we see at all.
Instead of an ionosphere, we have an ionodome. That's what I would go with based off of the Parhelion, sundogs, elves, sprites, and other electrical activity that look like it's cascading off of some sort of solid structure up there that's probably dome-like.
There's nothing you can do with that thing to make it show two centers of rotation.
They already did it.
They did it. You do not see two centers of rotation in Lemon.
You can see it right there. You can see
they're moving from left to right in both sides of the center of rotation.
You see a clockwise effect toward the bottom blue and a more counterclockwise-ish looking thing toward the top.
Bullshit, Lemon. Look at it. They're moving from left to right. It's always rotating clockwise. There is no no dual center of rotation. We see that on Earth. Two centers. Not just stars out in the middle of the field somewhere, moving from east to west or west to east.
Well, looks like the effect is there. Even with the other video, if I can find it, it looks like it's forming there too with worlds and counter worlds. So based off of it being a demonstrable, observable, repeatable enough, and with my flat-hearted bias, I'd go with that.
I suppose you can see anything you want to see if you try to insist on it hard enough. If anything's possible, I guess everything is possible. Is that the way we look at it?
Well, we need some sort of truth that we hold to make everything else possible. And so I would hold to that based off of the flatness that I see, the scriptures, NASA appearing to have green screen fakery, and just a more consistent narrative of flatness emerging.
Well, I don't go to the Bible to study science, and I don't go to science books to look for religion. I try to keep those two things separated. There's a good reason for that. One of them's fact-based. The other one is faith-based.
Well, if science is
wrong, and you can have all the faith you want to, Lemon. That doesn't make it scientific. That doesn't make anything about it correct.
Well, science, if it's based off of truth, might want to concern itself with the history in this book's pages. There's only one witness there to verify or corroborate what, if anything, occurred. It would be this God dude who said, "Hey, here I am. I'm the one who made it. Here's what actually happened," as opposed to uniformitarian men like yourself looking through a glass darkly, like myself looking through a glass darkly, and assuming that things have to be absolutely the same from the future and the past to go forward and make any sort of metaphysical assumption.
Except that guy's remaining silent on the subject.
Except he used the flat Earth to break the back of scientism itself and show us that the Emperor has no clothes, that the Earth is a flat, motionless plane, just like the scripture said. Other than that, no.
Which was brought to you by men on YouTube.
Yeah, I think a lot of these things you cannot just scale model everything like little physical scale model. I think that's a big misconception. If you cannot scale it down and model it in a physical thing yourself, then means that it cannot be done, replicated, reached, and not existent or something like that. I never understood that if you cannot model it in a small scale, it's just not possible. Is that your kind of way to go, Lemon?
Well, the thing is, without a scale model, it could be true or not true, Jose, but now faith is coming in more because how do we explore from the large scale thing that we can't do, like trying to reproduce the planet when we can't reproduce a planet on the large scale or whatever? We use the small scale to do that. We say, okay, this happened here on the small scale, and we're going to assume that this thing on the small scale is happening to the large scale so that we have something that is demonstrable so we can communicate this to somebody else. If there is no small scale thing, fine. But now we have to have faith that it's occurring. We have to have faith that gravity is pulling these planets together into a ball shape. But we don't see that on the small scale. We have to have faith that this is occurring even more without at least some level of small scale demonstration, like with this.
I totally reject that. I totally, absolutely reject that.
Stars or whatever.
Yeah, Blue's here. That's funny.
I totally reject that. I demonstrated mass attracting mass on a very small scale limit.
So you say mass attracts mass, therefore we have a ball or something like that in a ball Earth. That's a bit of a jump. What if it's just mass attracting mass?
You question gravity, Lemon. I didn't translate what I said into a spherical Earth. I said mass attracts mass. You were questioning gravity on a small scale. I'm telling you that I've shown it happening, as have hundreds of thousands of other people.
But there are things about gravity that make it easy to reject. In principle, gravity...
No, there's nothing about gravity that you can reject.
Nothing. In principle, gravity reaches out from a center. Mystically, it objects without pushing it, and grabs an object like a tractor beam to pull it in a one-way direction. That's highly mystical. What sort of force do you know of that has a one-way action like that, a one-way pull that is not bidirectional? I'm an actual object. When I go through things, I push them aside to get to what I'm getting to. I don't just pass through things like a ghost, grab on you, and pull you in. That's absurd. So at that point, gravity is metaphysical nonsense that needed to be absorbed into electromagnetism long ago, based off of that.
Nothing to do with electromagnetism, Lemon.
Right, and the fact that
but there's nothing to do with electromagnetism. That is not what gravity is. Gravity is the bending of space-time.
Space-time.
If you want to call that gravity is absurd by being able to pass through matter, the reason why this demonstration that Blue did is important is because the matter that was in the way, that is the enclosed casing around the sensitive element of the test itself, demonstrates that actually happens. To call it absurd is to deny reality.
It is to use common sense to peer past the experts' baffle, garble, mystical nonsense. If you're going to go with space-time curving or bending, then I'm going to go with the ether, a substance that gives flow like a river that fires up the mind and breaks through this mystical garbage.
You show me the ether, I'll be glad to listen to you, but you can't do that. Nobody's ever done that. It just isn't there, Lemon. On the other hand, I can show you mass attracting mass.
I mean, you said something about you don't see how a force can reach out and magically grab something, and for some reason you ignored magnetism, which does reach out, go through matter, go through materials, and grab something. So your big problem is that it's a bidirectional force. So does everything have to have two things?
It's just unacceptable for me based off of my everyday experience with me being an object that exists. If gravity is some sort of thing that exists, I expect similar activity. Now, with magnetism, Moyak, you do have a bidirectionality with magnetism. It goes this way. Sometimes you get a push, sometimes you get a pull. That appears to be more like me, that has a push and a pull. When I put two like magnets together, they're not coming together. They're staying apart as much as possible. It's like there's something solid and substantial between them. Does gravity do that? No and hell no. Mystical. At that point, gravity is mystical garbage. And at that point, I'm going to try to absorb gravity under electromagnetism or under another paradigm that's consistent enough and offers enough promise to fire the mind, get it investigating, and hopefully actually figuring out what the real cause of anything is.
I don't have much of a problem with you trying to choose
what
another
part of
force.
gravity repels?
Oh, go ahead.
Lemon, what part of gravity repels?
As far as I can tell, nothing.
Then how is it a part of electromagnetism?
It's one form of electromagnetism that's going in one direction. The other part of electromagnetism would allow you to float or to rise or something like that.
But that's not how magnetism works, Lemonbird. See, every time you make one of these absurd claims, you don't think about the other sciences that are impacted by the claim that you make.
They didn't think about us when they were putting out their mystical garbage. Why should I consider them?
Because that's how science is done. Science follows the evidence to where it leads. It doesn't assume the conclusion and then try to make stuff fit it, like exactly what you're doing.
And it was a problem. It was a problem before that gravity was only apparently pulling. But now if you try to fold it into electromagnetism, you're fine. You're perfectly okay with that part of electromagnetism being only one way, even though you had that exact same problem with gravity before.
Electromagnetism pushes and pulls. Yep. Gravity is defined only as a pull. What are you talking about? We also have incoherent magnetism that gives a one-way pull that is demonstrable, like a tractor beam. You don't have that. You show a weight changing weight slightly and infer gravity from there. We have a much more stronger demonstration with incoherent magnetism attracting either pole of a coherent magnet. So we have a bit more demonstrability here too, as far as I can tell, since everything is electromagnetic. If we're going to be asked to make these wild inferences, I would go with electromagnetism.
Paramagnetism and diamagnetism are not incoherent magnetism. That's a term that's Ken Wheeler that absolutely has no applicability in the real world.
And you say a tractor beam, it pulls in one direction. You just contradicted yourself. Gravity does that too. And you said it can't, and then you say it can.
Anyway, gravity is mystical garbage and dead weight. The promise is an electromagnetism, the ether, if you want levitation, if you want anti-gravity effects, and if you want an explanation that actually makes sense. As far as I can tell, just absorb gravity under electromagnetism and go from there.
Well, paramagnetism only goes in one direction too. I mean, you know that, right?
As far as you can tell, based on your education.
Paramagnetism only goes in one direction too. You know that, right?
It's a form of magnetism, but the broader umbrella
goes in one direction. The one thing that you're complaining about with gravity is exactly what paramagnetic material does.
Electromagnetism is a wider umbrella with more promise. I'd go with electromagnetic ether, something like that.
You cannot attract a piece of paramagnetic material with a magnet. It won't work, Lemon. It will repel.
Lemon, why can't magnetism and gravity be two separate forces? Why do they have to be combined to one?
Gravity doesn't appear to have an essence. Electromagnetism has a bit more of an ontological essence of being, something that gives it more of a reality. Gravity appears to be much more.
Yet they can still be two different things that act in different ways. So why is that a problem for you?
Philosophically, it seems that gravity is so mystical and so wooey, it stops exploration. There's no essence to it. There's nothing to explore, really. It appears to be a combination of fields that are better explored under another paradigm. So the promise appears to be somewhere else other than the dead weight of gravity. Philosophically.
Humans have males and females. They are clearly different, yet they both exist. So why can't you have Why can't you have gravity and electromagnetism both existing?
Because gravity offers no promise for any exploration. It's dead weight mentally.
Yet we use it every day. So how do you consider that dead weight? We use gravity all the time.
How do we use it? Do we put it in a jar and pour it on our car or something? Do we put a number in an equation?
All right. Well, if you want to hear the answer, you need to stop talking. But how do we use gravity every day? I'm sitting right next to a large pendulum clock. All right. That runs based on a downward bias to things falling down. If there's no gravity or if there's no downward force, the pendulum clock doesn't work. You see that, right?
Fair enough, but could we absorb that generalized explanation of what's occurring under electromagnetism? Is it that the field of the ether,
what's the pendulum made of?
Against the pendulum causes it to have an acceleration toward a certain direction? Bob, go.
What is the pendulum made of, and how does that interact electromagnetically?
Guess if it's more metallic, it interacts.
Could the pendulum be made of brass or wood or stone or a bucket of water and still work? Would it still keep time?
I think so, Dr. Bob, yes.
Okay, so what do all of those things have in common with electromagnetic force? Does electromagnetic force attract brass and stone and water equally?
It attracts them.
If not, why does the clock keep time no matter what substance I use for the pendulum?
I guess the field is combining with these objects more or less the same way, but they would process differently based off of their construction, wouldn't they? One wooden pendulum would have a slightly different period than, say, a metal one, wouldn't it?
Why? How does a pendulum work?
I asked you.
Why would the period be different?
Why would the period be different?
Tell me why the period would be different, Lemon.
I asked you a question and you answered with a question. But
I made a false statement, and I want to nail you down.
Obviously, it's the interaction of the object.
Pendulum would be different. You tell me why the period of the pendulum.
If I'm going to be the only one answering questions here, fine.
I'm gonna.
It's the interaction of the object with the ether.
If Lemon is asked questions, you guys have to allow him to answer. He might take 5 seconds to answer. He might take a minute to answer. So you are playing the game. You must follow your own rules then.
Okay. So, Lemon, let me ask you this. With a pendulum, what are the things that actually determine the period of the pendulum? I can think of two factors. Blue, correct me if I'm wrong, but there are only two factors that really matter with a pendulum. And one is more important than the other.
The length of the string, the weight of the bob, the joint that it's attached to.
Wrong.
I think just the length
have anything to do with it.
Yeah, I don't think mass has anything to do with it, and Blue's correcting me on that, but I think the only thing that matters is the length of the arm.
Length of the arm and the strength of gravity.
Yeah. So when you figure that one out, Lemon, I think that's an interesting thought exercise for you.
Actually, you can use a pendulum to measure gravity if you like. That's one way of doing it.
So I just say that the swirl of the ether makes this pendulum process, in particular, slightly differently, especially during an eclipse, for the Allais effect. So the swirly swirl of the ether is giving us different effects.
What ether?
Fields, the substance of space, Severino. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
What ether?
Space being a substance that flows in and out of objects, aka an ether.
We can have fun debunking that
ally
ally thing for general purpose usage and measurements. We can have that kind of fun if you want, Lemon.
Please
interested.
name the experiment to prove the ether.
Steve Ronino, the Doofus was making a point, and I interrupted, but you were interrupting before me. Doofus, go ahead.
That's all right.
Yeah, but I was actually more interested in, establishing the fact that the effect on something, its weight, is proportional to the mass of an object at a given location. Obviously, that changes by latitude, but we'll get there. That if the weight is proportional to the mass, and magnetism affects different materials differently and is totally not related to the mass, then we know that the thing that's causing weight is caused by the mass, has nothing to do with electromagnetism. Easy peasy. Electromagnetism ruled out.
They can calculate, based off of what I read anyway, they can calculate the differences that would be attributable to mass alone. It looks like these Allais effects, pendulum swing deviating, break mass alone being the main culprit of why these pendulums are swinging differently. It looks like something else is going on. I would say that it's the substance of the space ether being under tighter torsion and stress, making the objects within it react differently to the ether. Floating up, floating down, processing a little bit differently. That's what I would go with.
Wow.
It's a good thing that what we actually go with is, when we do things like structural engineering, is to go with weight and to go with inertial forces, things like we know that the mass of an object and its weight are proportional. I'm going to go with the things that we actually use to construct things. It seems less useful, at least from my perspective, to go with something that I can't use to do something useful.
Yet, but one day.
Lemon, can you name the experiment that proved the ether?
What this is the point that I wanted to make earlier. I wanna be Lemon left. What Lemonberg calls the ether is something, but what I call the ether, I want to start calling the ether to the dark matter and dark energy. That's what I call ether. Did I change the name? Yes. I can call gravity Susan if I want to, but I want to call the dark matter and dark energy. I don't like those names, so I'm going to call it ether. It's something that you cannot experiment on. It's very mysterious and it's composing most of the known universe substance. Thank you very much. I gotta go away from the keyboard for 2 minutes. I'll be back shortly.
God, is he finally gone?
Matter, dark energy is different from proposed ether.
Seems Lemon must have left, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
Looks like it. I took my headphones off for a couple of minutes whilst I was doing something else. Come back and thought, oh no, he's gone.
Yeah,
Hey,
I mean, if it's useful to him to say that we can't do anything useful because it's unknown, and it's useful to me to use the knowledge that we do have to build something useful, then I'm going to go with what I got. I don't ever need to even consider what Lemon has.
Damn normie.
Well, I can tell you from a structural engineering or mechanical engineering standpoint, civil engineering standpoint, we don't give two hoots in hell about gravity. We don't give a shit about magnetism. None of that makes any difference. We only care about loads. We care about how much stuff weighs, and that's where the loads come from.
Yep. Oh, why does your water tank weigh so much, Mr. Engineer? Because water's heavy. Sorry.
Take the water out of it. It'll be really light then.
Well, yeah, but these were hospital jobs. They tended to be quite large tanks, and even empty, the tanks were like a ton and a half, 2 ton each. And then you had thousands and thousands and thousands of litres of water in. And the same architect would complain and say, why has a structural engineer got to put in such big steelwork to hold this tank up on the roof? Because water's heavy. Oh, is it really? Yeah, sorry. There's nothing I can do about it. If you want to hold 20,000 litres of water, you've got 20 tons in weight. Sorry.
Good thing flat earthers don't build bridges.
Correct. They don't. from what I can see, they don't do anything that requires any sort of engineering that might, if you get it wrong, kill someone.
Brian Mullen. Mullen.
All right. And I wanted to get to this earlier, which was in regards to the celestial sphere, but it was worth noting that the celestial sphere being something we observed to be spherical was dodged outright. So that was fun. But the celestial sphere is used to navigate on Earth, and that maps at any given time when you have, fixed which angle you're looking at things. At any given time, that celestial sphere maps to the surface of the Earth 1-to-1, which can only mean the Earth is spherical. But we couldn't get that far in the argument. He didn't want me to go there because he knows that's where I'm going.
Yes.
Wouldn't even accept that we can observe a celestial sphere. That's the part that really irks me. Like, you got to deny reality just to make a flat Earth quote work.
Well, yeah. You can't be a flat earther without denying reality to start with. As the quote from Kibo famously goes, you can't have flat Earth and things making sense.
I like that quote so much.
Well, I think that's why Jim has it right at the end of his intro to his Sunday roast, because it's just so spot on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nothing in flat Earth makes sense. Nothing comports with what we see, with what we measure, what we experience. Nothing at all.
Suddenly a hush broke out.
Mm.
There's nothing wrong with a comfortable silence.
That's true.
I mean, there is if it's a show, and unfortunately, I don't have anything to talk about. I can talk about other arguments I've had with other flat earthers, but it's really all the same. It's been the same for the past 7-8 years.
Yeah. Well, I came in right at the end of Jose watching the SpaceX launch. Did it actually land on the barge without the signal?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Perfect.
Cool.
And the video didn't cut out.
I have to go back and watch that later on because that's always nice when it does work. Because obviously you ain't got to rock that barge too much and the signal is lost. But when they get it right, it's very impressive.
Right, and there was a bit of an oddity on the barge cam. The barge cam had a zoomed in center section of the view,
right,
which was a little odd.
Yeah,
I know you're familiar with like viewfinders on some of the older cameras. You could have like that zoomed in center section
yes,
for your reticle.
I know I know the effect you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. There's one of those on that barge cam, which is kind of odd.
Hmm. That is a little bit
not new or unusual, but odd.
Still, what I liked is you saw it from the rocket itself, all the way down to the barge, and you saw the video from the barge all uninterrupted, side by side.
That's nice when they don't get that pesky sort of signal breakup.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yes, they've got it on their Twitter feed now. I'm just having a quick butchers. Oh, that's...
That seems the most difficult part to fake in their videos, it seems.
Yes. And of course, the more so when on the rare occasion when they're doing I think it's a polar orbit launch, is when the first stage comes back to land rather than landing out miles and miles out in the Atlantic on the brilliantly named barges or the drone ships, is when it actually comes back and lands from the same place, the same area where it took off. And everybody's there to watch it. There are thousands of people there to watch it. It's like, yeah, they're all in on it, are they?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they must be, yeah. everybody filming it, with cameras and mobile phones and everything else. They're all being paid off by NASA, because it's always NASA, even though it's a SpaceX launch. Never could quite. Oh, I see. Yes, I see what you mean. It has got a strange sort of.
It was a cool.
in.
Yeah, it was a cool landing. Just that little oddity, like the picture-in-picture type of thing. A little bit.
Yeah, I'm just watching. Yeah, so it's just on the 21-second loop now. Just waiting.
But I appreciate, it was uninterrupted, and you had the two views, from the top down and from the side. It was cool.
And credit to SpaceX for calling their drone ship a shortfall of gravitas. For those in the know, that's rather chucklesome.
Oh, hey, that callback on YouTube.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, I'm just saying that's a callback to an earlier episode. The thing you posted on the live stream.
Right. I know. It's cool.
Yeah.
I seen that a while ago. That's really cool.
Yeah. Poor things. Do they actually know what it means when they have the trousers at half mast like that?
It varies. It depends on, it depends. I think there's an overall definition of what that means.
Yeah.
And it means from people in jail.
Yes.
Normally, that's from my perspective,
That's the story I've heard, that it originated in jail, and if you wore your trousers at half mast, it was an obvious and blatant signal to people that you were, how should we put this, available.
Available, exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
There you go. Yep. That's it. Yep.
Yes, John Giovanni. I liked Ian M. Banks too, but the Ian Banks one, I wasn't sure about him.
Yeah, indeed. All right, we got that. This little SpaceX thing going on. Oh, there we go. All right, this is when it's gonna land right there. 2 kilometers, 1.876 is approaching.
Yeah.
And then the right,
it really does come down at a fair old rate, right until the last possible moment where it's like, oh, quick, brakes on.
Yeah. I'm gonna pause it right. Yeah, I'm gonna pause it right here. I'm gonna slow it down.
Yeah, it is a weird little sort of magnification thing they got going on.
I'm gonna slow it down. All the way slow. 1.25. And you got a little square, like it just pops up here, and it magnifies slightly.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Well, it's like the old thing you sometimes get in your side mirrors on your car. They sometimes have an extra little bit in them. I wonder why they did that, but it doesn't detract from the fact that you can see it from the barge and you can see it from the rocket, uncut, uninterrupted. That's nice.
Yeah.
We don't often get both of them to work properly at the same time.
Maybe they actually wanted that zoomed into you. Like they actually wanted to see that in their command center, and then we ended up with that feed.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Want a little more detail. Yeah, that wasn't bad.
Yeah, it looks like the magnifying glass app on my desktop.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just trying to see if there's any explanation in their Twitter feed as to why suddenly we get a magnified bit. But
yeah, it's like 2x. It's not like a lot of magnification, but it's
Yeah. Will it be odd, let's say, if you come back tomorrow to watch this video and you say, what was the launch tomorrow? Oh, 21,000. Now maybe tomorrow's got 500,000 views. Let me click on this, try to find this timestamp. And then when you look at it, it does not have this little square block magnified. Will it be odd to you?
Yeah.
That they're able to change the live feed without losing the views and that. That was the issue that happened that one time, with the car thing.
That was almost
the car. Yeah.
Look at that. That's almost bang on center as well. That's quite impressive.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, it's a bit grubby. Oh, they could give it a hose down.
Yeah, that wasn't a bad thing.
Yeah, isn't that one of the ones that's been quite a few times up already?
Yes, yeah. I did see
Fifth one, I think.
Yeah, it's yes. That was its fifth time, so it's done 4 previous.
Huh.
Yeah, the bottom half, except where the legs are closed, the bottom half is really quite black. It's got so much soot over it.
It's the third flight for that capsule too.
Oh yes,
Really?
yeah. Oh yeah, they're reusing just about as much as they can.
Everything except the second stage.
That's it. You know, everything else. I mean, you know, when they're launching satellites, the payload shrouds get reused.
They stopped making Dragons.
What? Because they got enough of them.
I don't know. Yeah, they reuse what they have. They
That's
don't
it.
make new this time.
Yeah,
No,
they
the first
stopped making. Yeah, they stopped making Dragon capsules. They only there's 4 of them, and they're not currently making a 5th.
No, because the next capsule they make will be for a totally different use, I'm sure.
What's going on here? They had to train like this, like hanging in wires and stuff. What's going on over here?
Yeah, well, got to train for 0G somehow. So the best ways to do it down here on Earth are the good old harnesses and swimming pools.
Man,
because it's cheaper than keep sending them up in 500 flights of the Vomit Comet.
I just giving a little bit of a food for space deniers.
Oh, of course they'll
There you
always
go.
say, "Oh, there's harnesses." Yeah, go on then. Show
There
us
you
where
go.
the harnesses are on the ISS.
They just forgot to delete this from the editing room.
Yeah, now that's a harness. That's what I call a harness. Yeah.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, that actually is a harness. Now show us where that is on the ISS.
Yeah.
It shows how bulky it has. It shows how bulky it has to be instead of these wires that are nearly invisible and can pass through arms.
And then when they say, "Oh, they're not in a spacewalk; they're in a swimming pool." Well, compare the shots of them doing a spacewalk to the shots of them training in the pool, and just look at the differences. Yeah, just everything's different. Even down, and the biggest giveaway is what their faces look like through the visor of their helmet when they're underwater, because the water refracts everything and makes it look different. Yeah, they're quite clear.
And they have to look through that, so they're looking at a larger view.
Yeah. I mean,
So when they're underwater, they're seeing everything magnified.
Yeah, the whole bollocks of, they're in a swimming pool. No, they quite clearly aren't. You've seen photos of them training in their giant swimming pool, but when they're doing a spacewalk, they're quite clearly not in water. You know, and it'd be so much work to try and re-edit the live stream to get rid of the effects of being underwater. Probably easy just to go into space.
I don't think so. They do in movies today where they film a person and they put an animal on it, and you can't even tell. No, that's easy to do. They do it in a water tank, then they put the astronauts, replace the image, and you see astronauts instead of scuba divers.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, they everything seems in Flat Earth seems to be based on looks like, and yet when we see the spacewalks, it doesn't look like water.
No, of course it doesn't.
Well, if I'm going to have to fill some dead space, I was looking through some historical stuff. I was having discussions with Dr. Bob, might get a kick out of this if he's still around. I was having a discussion about the Alberuni thing with somebody on another server. And he brought up a screenshot of a video, didn't even post the actual video, the lazy git. And the screenshot showed that this person got the radius of the Earth off by, I think, like 8 times too small. And then posed it to me, well, what did he get wrong? Funny thing, in that same video, it shows you what he did wrong. So These are the discussions that are top class FE content.
Top class. Oh, the very concept.
These are the best of the best that Flat Earth has to offer us. To look at the same stupid video, to look at the same video and show me exactly what he decided, to ignore.
That's not a fuel tank. That's a balloon. Look at it bouncing. That's on a balloon. Yeah. Does Nurse know that you're out? They are scary people.
I was not showing what Doofus was talking about because I didn't have access to it in any way, shape, or form.
What now? What did I miss?
That I didn't show what you were talking about because it's not posted anywhere.
Oh yeah, no. Well, if you want to talk about that video, actually, I can probably find it instantly now because I already searched for it.
I can share screen and you guys tell me where to go because it's gonna get hot, Mikey, over here. It's the time for the dogs to howl and shit.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stand up mask guy is the guy who did it. Yeah, here we are. Share copy link. Yeah, Matt Parker. Okay. Yeah, his answer was in the 800 kilometer range for the radius of the Earth, and that was clearly wrong. But also in the same video, right at about the middle, right in the direct middle of the video, shows you what he did wrong.
800 kilometers.
Yeah.
That video is really, really offensive that they do such poor everything as opposed to measuring, and they didn't use any tools of any precision and got some wildly crazy answer. And yeah, that's like, it was sad. I didn't expect.
Yeah, I don't even know why they posted it.
Oh,
I didn't expect that from those two.
I've seen that video. It is pitiful.
Yeah, I'm not going to take a guidebook, eyeball it to the side of a smartphone, and then say that my smartphone is getting a good reading, and then use the guidebook as some sort of precision tool on top of that. Wow.
And if we're talking about the best of the best when it comes to flat Earth, then can I draw your attention to the upcoming debate, dare I call it, later on today, between Mr. Sensible and Kyle. I like to pretend I'm a professor, but that means I profess to things, Adams. All about did we go to the moon?
Oh, not Kyle again.
Oh, yes, Carl again. Yes. That's at
Oh dear, what did he do now?
Carl Adams is going to be debating Mr. Sensible on the subject, did we go to the moon?
Oh, that ought to be epic.
Oh, yes.
That's one of Mr. Sensible's favorite topics.
I know.
I'm gonna go check that. I'm gonna go check that out. I'm gonna see if I can lurk.
Yeah, that's 9 o'clock my time, so that's where are we? 20 past 6, 7, 8. It's just over two and a half hours time.
2.5 hours. Yep. Interesting.
By the way, did Brian Leakey qualify for the $10,000 challenge?
Well, you know he did.
No. No.
On what grounds?
He said right up front he used Google Earth, and then he couldn't show the arithmetic he used or the math he used, so that somebody else could verify or replicate it or go through the same math he did. And Leakey was, even MC was laughing the whole time.
Yeah, it was, oh dear. It was really rather sad.
and remained cordial. No heated, no insults.
Yes, yeah.
Leakey
Brian didn't shout, did he?
Leakey was describing his refraction, and as you go further south toward the equator, it does this, and so MC drew these. Is this your path of refraction? He goes, yeah, and then he kept describing it, and then he drew the opposite. He goes, yeah, but is this what you're describing? Oh yeah, that's what I meant. He drew the opposite, and Leakey still agreed with it. So no, it was sad. It was kind of sad.
Yeah, very.
And Brian's always good for a laugh.
Yeah, when you know what he's like when it comes to mathematics.
And the thing with Lemon, though, is he talks about all his logic, and it's so incoherent, it doesn't even hold up mid-sentence. The paperweight is the most ridiculous, non sequitur, and he's using that as an analog for the Earth somehow. Well, what the hell's wrong with him?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't see things rotating around two axes. Around 2 points, I mean.
I didn't see that paperweight big enough to encompass the whole disc.
Neither did I.
Yeah, so that was somebody's personal dome.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the deal with that would have been. I don't think there's any way to make it make sense.
He hangs his hat on that. He dies on that hill.
Well, just another one of those things that is so wrong you can't even really figure out what the hell's wrong with it.
Well, I mean, you can have him say that he sees two centers of rotation when there aren't. That's one way.
Yeah.
Or
that didn't work. He just maintained he does see it.
I didn't see any rotation at all there.
I mean, you saw the disc rotating, so you knew the stuff inside the disc must be rotating the same way. So your brain's like, yeah, there's a center of rotation here off of this glass, like not in the glass at all. But what he was saying, was those 2 points where the stars were coming in from the left and going out on the right, in both sides of that region. He thought those were centers of rotation, but neither of them.
As if a time lapse of that would return a star trail going around a Sigma Ontantis.
No.
All right.
And then he insists on, we need it to be demonstrable and repeatable and all this good shit. He goes like, Mike, what more do you? What did I do? I can't describe enough. Going out there, making the measurements, not a scale in the model, but I'm making measurements, at tens of miles and coming up with, an impossible to ignore change in elevation or, change in, it's ridiculous. And they want
doing what they told you to do. You're just doing normie math.
Yeah, you've been brainwashed, man.
Have you ever tried using different math? Coming up with a new one that would work? Come on, man.
Yeah.
The funny thing is people do actually come up with other math, and like you find out that you can measure the distance to the moon using just a half moon. And you can also measure it with radio waves, and you could measure it by parallax. There's a bunch of ways you can do that. And all of them sort of zero in on the same answer.
And then there was that freak show with Professor Dave the other day. My God.
Oh, Dave got his ass kicked.
Which Dave? See, that's the problem.
That's the problem. Which Dave? Yes, you're right. Dave got his ass kicked. Yeah, which one? Oh dear. Oh, that was just so blatant that Dirt was just sitting there, straw manning, lying, bald faced lying, and couldn't see anything wrong with that. Nobody works at the South Pole. Really, you can go and get a job there. You can take a cruise there.
They say you can. Have you tried it? Huh?
One of these days, when I've got the money, I probably will take a cruise to the South Pole because reasons.
That only takes a couple of grand from where you are.
Yeah, well, we'll give it a while. I'm struggling to fill the bloody car up with diesel at the moment. That's only because there isn't any diesel. But
for me, it costs about 10 grand. Start.
But yeah, I mean, there's just so many things that just destroys the flat Earth, and of course, the South Pole is just an absolutely perfect example. Everything they say about it is a lie. It's not a big circular ice feature going around the edge of the world. You can go there. You're not prevented by the military from going to the South Pole. People do live there and work there. There is a human presence at the South Pole throughout the year, albeit there aren't many people there during the winter because, hey, no shit, it's bloody cold.
But you cannot go and independently explore and taking all the shit that you want, taking a wheelbarrow and a jet ski, a snow ski with a bunch of tools and gadgets to go explore. Exactly, that's what I at least I say. I know flat earthers say a lot of crazy shit. That's what I say, and that is true. What I say.
That's what the Antarctic Treaty is there for. It is there to protect the place. Because the last untouched wilderness, pretty much on the planet.
A lot of flat earthers get shut down and yelled at when they can say, "But you cannot go and explore independently there," and you guys yell at them and say, "No, that's not true," when that is true.
And
it's not actually a good argument to say, well,
I give it
you can't go where you want to go in Antarctica is not really a solid argument, because if you go there, you get to see a 24-hour sun, which already eliminates nearly every argument that they can have against the place.
Yeah, even from McMurdo Bay, right? It's like when they say the 24-hour sun has not even yet been proven, then you know that they are just clowning. At that point, you know they're clowning. I mean,
definitely. I agree with that. Yeah.
Also, if they only let you go in certain places, that's kind of irrelevant. It depends on the question you're going to ask. So. Yeah. If I wanted to just run around the perimeter, I can tell that there's no more acres in there just by going around the perimeter. Like if you don't let me go on your property, I can still tell you that you have 5 acres just by walking around the outside.
Yeah. The fact that the South Pole is a place, maybe it's with some restrictions, just about as restrictive as getting to Mount Everest. All right. The fact that it's a place, that's all we need.
Not personally me. I mean, you guys are good with going to Antarctica and just go, and you got all kinds of places to go, and you got all kinds. But for me and for the flat earthers, I'm talking in behalf of the flat earthers. They would like to go and explore independently there. They want to go. They don't want to go to a checkpoint. They don't want to go to check them their bags. They don't want to tell them, where are you going? They want to just go and go wherever the fuck they want, and they just want to go in and go.
I understand that, but the
not really,
is,
because they don't go anywhere
if you're trying to
test
if you're trying to answer, he just can't hear anybody.
I think you started at the same time.
Okay, I know. Yeah, but I tried talking through him, and I guess he wanted to talk through me, so we argued. We battled. Yeah, no. I again, what are you trying to prove, Jose? Do you want to find out if there's if it's a North Pole or this South Pole, like we describe, of X number of miles across, and it's a continent, or do you want to prove that there might be some little warm spring in the middle of it that has a nice little garden?
Whatever I want to do. I want to do and just go and dig a hole as deep as I can with shovels and I don't know, and do all kinds of shit and launch things over there, launch drones, run with a dog, take a shit and bury it with my hands, and do whatever the fuck I want there.
Why? Why?
You can't do that here.
Because. Because that's what they want. That's what I would like to do. That's why know that the flat earther would like to do. Take a biggest camp, take a bunch of snow skis and just go in. We'll go for hours. We're gonna camping here. We're gonna just all right, make a hole in there. We're gonna throw all the garbage in there. All right, let's keep going. And they just want to go explore. Just go.
Isn't that just an
They can't.
excuse that
They
they don't
can't.
have
You
to go?
can't. I can't. Nobody can do that. Nobody
Okay.
can.
Right, but isn't that just an excuse so you don't have to actually,
And does
actually
that
refer to the
restriction?
information that's available?
Yeah, and does that restriction matter?
Hey, Jose.
I'm listening.
You know, the biggest problem the flat earthers have is they want to go down and explore Antarctica. And they're using the Antarctic Treaty as an excuse to say they can't do it. They can, according to the Antarctic Treaty. It just
So they
takes
can
money.
do what I explain, what I offer to do. They can do it. They
Well,
can
there are
go
certain
over there.
rules.
Well, exactly. So you can't go explore. I mean, you really are.
Sure you can.
You guys are so fucking thick. I'm gonna fucking mute myself. You guys are just don't get it.
Yeah, but you can't go and explore. You can't go
Maybe
down
it's
and
'cause what you're
explore
saying is
for oil. You can't. You can't leave garbage down there, but that's just basically the rules of the road. The biggest problem the flat earthers have is they want to do it for free. They don't want to hire a ship and a crew. They don't want to pay the insurance for medical evacuation. You know, they don't want to make any sort of arrangements that involve them having any skin in the game. They just want it given to them.
Right. So each flat earther individually it is still safe to say that they can't because they can't afford it. But I mean, as a movement together, a flat earther could be funded to do an expedition in Antarctica. So technically, a flat earther could go down there. They just won't.
They won't because what they want to do, they will be asked not to do.
What they want to do is
Like they're not gonna
set up
go
live
waste their
music
time.
and
They're not
shit.
gonna go waste their money. They're not gonna waste their time. They can do it, dude. What are they gonna waste thousands of dollars? There's a millionaire flat earther. He got hundreds of thousands of dollars. They can do a biggest team, but they want to bring tools. They want to bring gadgets. They want to bring all kinds of fuel and tools and shit that they are not gonna be allowed to bring it out to explore wherever the fuck they want. They are not gonna be allowed. You guys insist in arguing a point that you know I am correct. They cannot go and explore independently and do whatever the fuck they want. Why are you trying to even argue against this point?
It's because it's an excuse so that they don't have to actually do it. It's like saying you can't go to a national park because you're not allowed to shit in a national park or start a fire. Yes, you can go to the South Pole. You can do everything you need to validate that the South Pole exists. And beyond that, they're just trying to find an excuse so that they don't have to go down and see the 24-hour sun, so that they don't have to see that it's only X number of miles wide. It is an excuse to avoid actually taking the project on. They know what the, or I don't know if they know what the answer is, but they don't want to challenge it.
Can you bring P900 to the South Pole?
Definitely.
Yeah, that's it then.
I wouldn't. Not with that lens and that gear, that motorized lens and stuff, and that cold. I'd probably try and find a simpler camera.
Yep, but you definitely could bring it.
I got one last question to the panel, and then we do final thoughts. I gotta get out of here. I gotta get ready. I'm gonna go to the movie theaters. I'm gonna watch Ambulance. This is a new movie, flick, kind of action, Michael Bay action flick, Ambulance. I heard it's okay. It's fun, so I'm gonna go watch it. But a question to the panel, everybody: can you go to independently to explore Antarctica? On the not on signing papers, going with a team and telling you can go here, but you can go here, but not there. Can you go independently explore Antarctica? Be real, be short and precise, guys. I'll let you take the floor for about 10 minutes, and then we'll final thoughts. I say no, you cannot, and everybody should answer the same way because you got to sign all kinds of papers, and you cannot go whatever the fuck you want in Antarctica. You must follow rules and restrictions. Go ahead.
Are those
All right,
rules and
well,
restrictions?
if you plan it out ahead of time and you decide where I want to go is wherever I want to go ahead of time, and then I make the necessary plans for emergency situations, then I can go wherever I want, so long as if where I want to go, I know that before I get there.
And that's a big no-no because they wouldn't know where to go. They're going to want to go where you are told not to go. They're going to want to go. They want to give you 20 different routes. They're going to say, all right, this is the map. This is where are you going? I want to go here, there, and I want to throw lines all across Antarctica, all of the lines, even if it take me 10 years to do it. They're not going to let me do that.
What do you mean draw lines in Antarctica?
I'm going to bring a map and I'm going to do a tic-tac-toe square with 180 squares. I say I want to go to every single point in this map. In this.
Yeah, you can do that. Yes, of course you can.
Yeah, you have to plan it out. You have to get your emergency supplies set up and who you're going to contact if there's a problem. Then you can.
Yeah, right. So I got to tell them where I go. I want to go wherever the fuck I want without them knowing. I cannot do that, right? That means freely
Without
explore.
them knowing, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to be in their property if they don't know where
freely
you are.
explore. Thank you very much. That's the answer. The answer is no. I cannot and go freely explore Antarctica. Thank you.
Yep, and I can't go to Disneyland.
The question is not whether or not they know about where you're going. Can you go where you want to? Yes, you can. If you have to do it secretively, then there's no point in you going.
Exactly. The answer is no. You cannot go freely explore. You got to tell somebody where you're going.
Right. It's freedom. It's your freedom of choice where you're going in Antarctica.
Sorry, is the question?
There's no freedom if you got to tell somebody where you're going. There's no fucking freedom.
That's total freedom.
Sorry, is the question? Can you travel? Can you travel to Antarctica solo, or is the question? Can you
explore inside? Go out of the places that you can stay, that you are paying to stay in these military bases and these places. You cannot go and just wander about Antarctica wherever the fuck you want. You cannot.
And you shouldn't. That would be stupid.
That's a safety issue.
But Jose, you absolutely can go out there. You just have to tell them you're going out. That's it. It's like just because you had to ask your parents whether or not you could go to the Ricky Martin concert growing up doesn't mean you can't go because you asked permission.
You cannot go and freely explore Antarctica wherever the fuck you want.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Yes, you can. Don't go to
Absolutely, you can.
Don't go to where everyone goes and need to obey the rules. Go where no one goes and do whatever the fuck you want.
You cannot go.
I can't even go explore Louisiana. What are you talking about, Jose?
Nope. Can't.
Louisiana doesn't have a treaty that you cannot go on independently.
I cannot go to Louisiana and explore any place I want to explore. I cannot.
Can't go to Disneyland.
I'm not signed on the treaty, so.
And you guys are all squirming away, and you're all being wrong.
Squirming, dude. You're squirming like a little.
I'm agreeing with you. You can't. I agree with you, Jose. No, you can't go to Antarctica and just do what the fuck.
Thank you very much.
You want to do.
Thank you.
Can't.
Thank you, Blue.
Totally agree.
You can't go to Louisiana.
I also can't do it in Louisiana. I can't go down there and just say, "Look, I'm going to go see the." I'll go through the governor's mansion. Don't let anybody get in my way. Don't ask me where I'm going or what I'm doing. I'm going to go explore the governor's mansion all alone. Think I can do that?
You go shit on Bourbon Street.
But you know that there's a mansion there, and you can drive around it. You can. I mean, there are planes. There are all kinds of maps by square inch and even blueprints of what's inside. You cannot find that in Antarctica. And if you tell me you do, you are lying.
I don't know.
Well, Jose, you can boat around Antarctica. Nobody's stopping you from boating around Antarctica. Here you go. Replace Antarctica with Alcatraz. Boom.
Not the same. Not a continent. Not a gigantic thousands of miles that to explore and to go there.
Scale it up. So
the USA is massive.
It's exactly the same, just bigger.
You can't go to everywhere in the entire USA without getting permission. It doesn't stop you going to the USA and exploring it and figuring out its overall shape and size, because there are certain bits of it you can't reach.
And if you go to a place where you shouldn't go, they're gonna stop you. Probably if they find you, they get you, they arrest you, right? because it would be illegal.
No, you can
It's your
explore.
home country, though,
You
don't
can,
they?
Hold on.
You
If
can
you
probably
go,
claim your country may say something.
how they going to arrest me exactly?
you can travel to anywhere in Antarctica. It doesn't matter. You're free to go anywhere in Antarctica.
Bullshit.
You just have to.
Lies.
No,
You are
No, it's not.
lying.
You just have to let people know where you're going
You
because
are
it's a safety issue.
lying. Exactly. Then you cannot go freely. You got to tell somebody.
What kind of bullshit? And if I go to Antarctica and not tell anyone I go there, lunch on some beach, and use my, what was it, motorized sled, who's going to stop me?
They do have policing of the entry and
really?
exit of Antarctica.
Oh.
Well, the problem,
But I'm
not
not
to
going
mention,
for
if
the
you,
exit and
if
the
you break
entry.
the rules, if you break the rules,
not to
it's your
mention-
home country that prosecutes you. And there are
Correct.
places in
Not-
Antarctica that you can't go into because they're protected. For example, penguin rookeries, which are the size of my fucking yard. You're not allowed to go into the penguin rookery, but you can look at it.
Wait, who's there to guard
I can't smash the eggs.
Yeah, I hear they're pretty good. When you boil them, they're they don't, the whites of the egg stay clear, but they taste kind of fishy from what I.
Oh, if you can't smash the eggs, the Antarctica is not real.
Antarctica
that's
is
true.
protected. One cannot go and do whatever the fuck you want.
If there is
can't-
no restriction,
drill
if
for
they
oil.
let you go anywhere you want, but you have to pre-plan it. So that is not a restriction. You may have to make several trips. Ooh, I saw something interesting over there. I want to go explore that grid pattern. I'm sorry, that's what you're going to have to do.
You can't drill for oil. You can't bring troops down there. You can't test nuclear weapons or dispose of nuclear waste. So I guess there are some restrictions, Jose. But
I cannot
you're
even
welcome to
take
go
a
anywhere you
shit.
want.
I cannot even take a shit and leave it there. When that's
Sure you
organic.
can. Well,
You know-
no, that's the key to it. You can take a shit. You just have to take it out with you.
Wait,
Exactly. So I cannot do whatever the fuck I
rules
want, right? Thank you. Not even a fucking
That's
organic
stupid.
matter.
That is
Even
a
that-
stupid argument, Jose.
It's not even like, even if the rule exists, it doesn't mean you can't break the rule. You could go and shit in some random piece of Antarctica and nobody's ever going to fucking know about it.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
you have to
Maybe
hold
it'll
it
stay
the
there
whole
forever,
time,
though.
and
Penguins do it
you
all
can't shit until you get back to Argentina.
Wait a second. You can't whale whales, the South Pole? Or the Japanese don't give half shit, they whale there all the time. Who's stopping them?
You guys are
There's some
so
truth to that.
wrong.
Once you get out of
Maybe
their
they
sight,
have
you
an
can do
arrangement
whatever you
with the
want.
penguins.
And okay,
I mean,
okay,
actually,
this
you guys are not wrong. You guys are, in your mind, you are right. You are all brainwashed. That's
okay. There are restrictions. How does that change what the South Pole is?
Right, and if we open the discussion with what globers, or quotes around globers, what people argue against flat Earth, the thing that I always mention there is that you don't have to go everywhere in order to measure aspects of it. For example, the 24-hour sun and the size of it. So freely having a contention where free travel is, or whether or not you can take a shit on Antarctica, which is funny, by the way. Doesn't really change the actual arguments in a flat Earth context.
It only leaves open
It
that
does not,
possible.
and I'm not trying to.
Anyway,
It does not
it's an
change the
excuse.
context. Earth is a globe, and I'm happy with it. Saying that you cannot just go freely, whatever the fuck you want, and do whatever the fuck you want in Antarctica is very restricted. You cannot do whatever you want in Antarctica. You cannot freely explore. That's my point, and that's a fact.
But the
No,
point
you
is,
can freely explore.
They can't check it, and you can check it. You can go anywhere you need to check and validate Antarctica meets the criteria that we've specified it has, the features that it has. That's all you need, and that's what the argument is. We're not arguing whether you can go to grid 2249 and take a shit.
Just a quick question, Jose. Where in the world can you go that you're free to do whatever you want?
I can't think of a place.
Yeah, there will always be a restriction against murder, basically everywhere.
That's
in
right.
United States, you can go wherever you want. I mean, I cannot go inside a house. I cannot go inside a building. I cannot go inside this park. But I can know exactly what's inside it because it's been mapped 100%. And you can even send sometimes even a drone or send a friend or talk to the person in the gate and say, all right, hey, can you grab this camera, take a video of this over here? You can do all of that. You know exactly what's in United States. You don't know. Nobody knows what's in fucking Antarctica. Period.
That's not true. That's not true, Jose. There's a lot of private land out there that you are not welcome on, and they will let you know by either shooting you or letting you know at the
And you
property
can
line.
map it. What could it be? 20
No, you don't.
miles?
They have gone and gone against the mapping. They've gone
Actually,
against Google.
yeah, but
They've
20
cut
square
that out
miles.
of their
Oh,
out
fuck.
of Google. They've cut that out of Google. You can't map that.
So you have a blurred 20 square miles, right? But you got
Yeah,
you
you can have that.
But you got to account for that blurred square miles, right? You can
You can account for
that.
Antarctica being there as well, right?
You don't know about that. It's too big, too many hundreds of square miles, thousands of square miles that you don't know what the fuck is in it. It's all blurred.
Okay. So what's the difference between that 20 miles and that larger piece of land that you cannot go to?
What's the difference between 20 miles versus 1,000 miles? Really? You're asking that question?
Yeah. Yeah. Can you go to North Korea?
Not for the question. This is just fucking silly questions, nonsensical.
Can't go to North
okay.
Korea, so we don't know how big North Korea is.
I mean, if you don't understand what the difference
know
between
where it
20
is.
square miles versus 1,000 square miles, then there's no further questions. Thank you.
Right now,
if you don't understand the difference between private rules and public land, then that's an issue. And nobody's stopping you from driving a boat around Antarctica. Nobody.
No, some people have argued that.
They do a race around it every couple of years.
Yeah, and the presence of restrictions doesn't change what it is. Yes, the perimeter has been circumnavigated, so we know its area and its size and its location and the 24-hour sun. What more does a flat earther need to know about the South Pole?
Yeah, that's the argument: is the Earth a sphere, and is the South Pole a ring around it with a dome beyond it, or not?
Well, and then he's going to ask which South Pole. There isn't just one, you know.
Yeah, well, there is just one, and we do know there is just one. We do know that they want to.
Yeah,
they
what
want
about
to
the
use
magnetics?
multiple. No, that's okay. When you say the South Pole, you have to qualify. The geographic South Pole, there is one. When it comes to shape of the Earth and rotation on axis, there is one, and that is the end of that discussion because magnetic South Pole is not a geographic feature; it's a geologic feature.
Yeah. Has properties.
And it's dynamic. It's moving. It is not in one fixed place. There's diurnal and annual, all kinds of little perturbations going on to it, and it's not an exact point that you can get to within, say, 50 feet. And so this is exactly the point. In the South Pole, yes, exactly the point, give or take just a few feet.
Yeah, the geographical South Pole on the Gleason map is what? A big circle.
What are these? What are these mountains with no ice and these big lakes and seas in Antarctica? I haven't seen that in the past 50, 60 years, probably, since Admiral Byrd recorded those in some of the trips he had. There's no documentation of that anywhere. Did they disappear? Did they get frozen? What happened?
Lakes?
Yes. Big bodies of water inside the continent of Antarctica.
There's subterranean lakes. I don't believe there was any
No,
above ground lakes.
you haven't seen the documentaries, right? You haven't seen the videos
I think I have. I thought it was subterranean. I didn't think they had an above
No,
ground lake.
they were very visible. Oh, they were visible from the gigantic lakes and mountains without ice.
Hey, the mountains, I've seen that.
I'll try to look for that up for the next show and show you this big bodies of water inside Antarctica that I never seen besides that documentary ever again in 50, 60 years. And I've been looking for those videos, man. Now, if you haven't seen that, guys, those videos with these bodies of water that Amiral Bird recorded, then you're not up to date. Yet you don't have all the information of Antarctica, and you guys you're arguing against me.
Well, I don't need all the information. All I need for for this argument is the size, shape, and location of it, and the features that we describe about it. The lakes and stuff, like I said, if there's an oasis out there that's 110 degrees during the day and 80 in the evening, I don't know. But the size and shape of it, the location of it, it's there. There could be some volcanic activity.
It'd be cool. It'd be cool if they could show in the map, in the maps where those things are, and you're able at least to see it in the map or have some videos, modern videos of it. It would be cool. That's what I would like somebody to go and see and record, and I'll shut up when I see that. What was shown many years ago that haven't been shown again, that's what I'm interested in.
So I got new lakes discovered under Antarctic.
And I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the old school videos where you can see it looks like I don't know, like somewhere else on Earth, not Antarctica, because Antarctica was supposed to be all covered in ice, but those are not. Those are bodies of water. Those are water.
Then there's some above ground things, water features, like where rivers of molten water seem to be on the surface. I wouldn't call that a lake per se, although I mean it's on land and it's a body of water, but it's temporary.
Temporary?
Yes,
like
temporary.
What, 2 hours a day or what?
Oh no, temporary as in probably during the summer.
Yeah, 6 months out of the year.
And water as the water melts, it rolls downhill and pools in low-lying areas.
Maybe maybe the old videos where they show this Admiral Byrd, the originals from the old, this old archives. Maybe they're wrong. Maybe those videos were faked, right?
Or maybe what they're calling a lake is, like I said, a temporary feature of water on top of the ice.
I'm calling it lakes. I don't know exactly the term they use. Probably they call it a sea. Probably they call it a sea. As big as United States or something, Probably they call it like that. I don't remember.
From your memory, was it above, was it surrounded by snow or was it surrounded by land?
It was a little bit of land, a little bit of snow.
Because the dark,
they weren't small. They were small. The angle they showed it was huge. It was big. I mean, from what I could see, because it was taken from a plane, and it was really big, like almost reached the horizon. They showed it like from the top, and they pan, and it was big, And that was roughly around the point that they had to turn around because they already thrown a bunch of shit out because they weren't going to be able to reach back if they continued to go inland, continue to go deeper in.
Bingo fuel.
All right, let's do a round of final thoughts. Let's get out of here. We'll try to entertain. We'll try to do Antarctica for the next one. I'll try to bring some of those clips and see what's up. Okay. Final thoughts.
Well, I mean, the Antarctica thing's just all the horse shit. It's excuse after excuse. for flat earthers not to go there. There's nothing stopping them actually going there. And this weird point that you try to bring up, like, well, you can't go to every single spot on it because there's certain places you can't go to. Tough shit. There's still, it's a massive continent. There's thousands and thousands of square miles that you can go to. And no flat earther has any interest in going there because it will break them. You name me any flat earther that's done any decent amount of traveling to try and prove anything to themselves. And there's some of them have got the money to do it. And, you know, it's just the fact that there's any kind of restriction or rule or anything like that, it doesn't stop you traveling, observing, and making, you know, various measurements or whatever you might need to do, and basically verifying it is there, it's in the direction it should be, it's approximately the size it is, and that all the features that have been explained happen. You know, a couple of patches that are unavailable to you don't stop you from doing that.
Thank you very much, Alkay. I appreciate that. Blue Marble Science, final thoughts. Flip Flop came out at the end right there, man. What's that?
Yeah, he did. I posted it in the chat for you. It's Williams and Mercer. Those are subglacial lakes, and they're pretty large. But whatever, they're there. Look around, it's not hard to find pictures of them. And as far as going to Antarctica, hell, I couldn't even get flat earthers to send me a fucking email if they wanted to go see Cavendish. Of course, they're not going to fill out any paperwork to go to Antarctica. Jesus Christ. By the way, travel, not fucking horizontal. Later, Jose.
Later, Blue. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. Bro, Alim, final thoughts.
Great. I love final thoughts. It gives me a chance to finish my previous thought, which was that no, Lemon Bird's not going to go to Antarctica, not even if you pay for it. Okay? Not even if it's free. Most flat earthers don't even get off of the couch. Look at Nathan Oakley. He set up his whole fool the world studio from his couch. I mean, they don't get out much, do they? You have to get out of, you know, grandma's basement or whatever. And as a matter of fact, some of them might even suffer from agoraphobia. That's your $500 word of the day. Boom. Fear of going outside.
Boom. Thank you very much. I am outside. I'm not into that shit. C4. Shout out to C4. Shout out to Watson. Shaik, final thoughts. Doofus Manfred.
Well, as far as the flat earth discussion goes, the topics that have been brought up are things that have been answered for years. The flat earth movement is stationary. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Dr. Bob, final thoughts. It doesn't matter, guys, if you guys got angry with me at the end, where the audience did the final thoughts. Farmer's Boy.
Yeah, hello, Flip Flop. Some of it was entertaining once you got rid of Lemon Bird anyway, so yeah. Shame I missed the start, but I'll catch up with SpaceX. As ever, thank you very much for giving us a platform to come here and lose our shit at people. Very kind of you.
Only troll responsibly. Thank you very much.
Could I just quickly say something? Is that okay?
Go ahead, man. Yeah.
I've been listening. It made me think, you know, like I go in the wintertime in Scotland, I go into the mountains to photograph the Milky Way at night. And I can go wherever I want, pretty much. But I always tell someone exactly where I'm going and when I'm going to be back, because it's just for safety. And Antarctica is not a very hospitable place. I mean, Jesus Christ, minus 80 degrees Celsius or something is the coldest temperature. So it does come with some caveats that you have to follow. Your life depends on it, I suppose. But that's all. But yeah, good show, old chap. Cheers.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Final thought from Ben Delight with a big $10 super chat. Thank you, Ben Delight. Appreciate that, brother. I was very sad because I think there was like 2 super chats earlier, like small super chats, but we got a $10 one. Now we're talking. Now we're making the big money. Flurfs are just rule followers. They know their place and will do what they are told by the authority. Thank you very much, Ben Delight. Very well said, man. Got to think about that today, man. Thank you, thank you. We have in the house Gary Phobic. Hey, I like the name. Whee! Mojok Man, final thoughts.
I think we can determine everything we need to about Antarctica.
You were close to lose your shit earlier. You were close to lose your shit. Don't do it. Don't do it, man. That's my intention, to get people pissed off and angry and aggravated, but don't do it. Don't fall for it. Sean Smith did good. Sean Smith, final thoughts, man.
Thanks, Jose. I thought it was a great show. It was really cool to watch that rocket launch earlier, and Lemon came in and there was a bunch of words said, but I'm not sure what was all decided on that. But as always, the Earth is beautiful, and everybody out in the audience, like and subscribe, people. That's all I got.
Thank you, Sean Smith. Appreciate it. Anybody else that have a final say? Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. If you're watching this recorded, don't forget to leave a like. Leave a like before you get out of here. Come back to the comment sections when the video is up on YouTube. Leave a comment, and if the video is YouTube friendly and not a spam, I will pin that comment. And if you come to leave a comment for it to be pinned, if it's already one, anyway, you're already there, leave us a comment in the comment section. The more comments that are in the comment section, the more likes that are in the live shows. Those videos, YouTube kind of push it up a little bit as recommendations. So the more interaction we have in the live shows and in the comment sections, that's what YouTube sees. So let's try to get pushed up a little bit to get a little more broader audience and more new voices over here to be heard. And that's the whole idea. Share the show. Stay safe, everybody. Do what you need to do to stay happy, keep smiling, and not take these topics too seriously, because life is too short. Enjoy it. Jose JG out. Boom.